I'd like to call to order the 2018 budget hearing for November 2nd, 2017. It is approximately 7:05. We'd all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to remind everybody to silence their cell phones if they have them. I'll be sitting in this evening as Deputy Mayor. Mayor Arasinko had to be out of town. We also have some personal issues with some council people. So Mrs. Gatos, Mr. Harvey, Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Caleri are here in attendance along with myself. The 2018 budget was presented by Mr. Little and his put together by his staff, presented last month at our council meeting. It has all of our expenditures and all of our revenues for the municipality. This document is available online at the municipal website. There's also a copy at the Monroeville Public Library, and I believe there's also a copy at the municipal building if anyone needs to review it, but it is all online. It goes through everything, all of our expenditures and all of our revenues. When we talk about revenues, the one that gets the most press is the real estate tax. And our millage, our real estate tax is 4 mills. That's $4 per 1,000. The budget, the 2018 budget presented by Mr. Little, does not call for a tax increase. The tax, if we pass the budget as is, there is no tax increase for 2018. We will be having two budget hearings, this one, and then we have another one scheduled later in the month, and council can decide to have more hearings if necessary. So getting back to our the millage tax, or the millage rate, your property taxes, your real estate taxes are for the, what you pay on are three things: your county tax, your school district tax, Gateway School District, and Monroeville tax. Your school district tax being 19.34 mills, your county tax being 4.73, Monroeville being 4 mills. So in the example of a $100,000 home, your taxes, your property taxes would be as follows. They'd be $1,934 for the school district, $473 for the county, and $400 for Monroeville. So just to be clear, what we're talking about this evening and what municipality covers is those 4 mills, the last one. The $400 on the $100,000 home is what a taxpayer would pay for the items we're going to be discussing over our next hearings. But just to clarify, this budget does not call for a tax increase, but we will be going through all the line items of the expenditures and the revenues over the next couple budget hearings. And that's all the comment I wanted to make just to get things started here. We are going to have a open it up for public comment. We will only be having a public comment at the beginning of the meeting here, so it'll be your time to speak about budget items only. And I will open up the floor for anyone who has signed in or anyone who would like to sign in before we get the meeting started. In an effort to run a efficient meeting in here and get moving through things, because these meetings can last long because we are going to go through a lot of departments, we're going to ask any public comment to be 5 minutes or less. And the floor is open for public comment.
Thank you, Dr. Griesbach. Chad, student board resident of Monroeville. All right, so just to be clear, after the reassessment, the millage rate was 1.8, correct?
Are we talking about the 2018
Whoever
budget?
would like to answer.
It's a 2018 budget discussion?
Yes, I will be.
That's what the public comment's for.
Correct, so, all right, well, after the reassessment was 1.8 mil. So you were talking about 4 mil equaling $400, so the taxes would have gone from $180 on a $100,000 house up to $400. And although the budget itself doesn't call for a 1 mil increase in the manager's address, which is included within the budget, it does request another 1 mil increase for capital improvement projects, correct?
That's correct.
So with that being said, I was just curious as to where council sat on that, if you guys are in support of that or if you guys are opposed to that.
The budget does not call for a tax increase. It's in the message, but the budget which we vote on, if we vote on it as is, does not increase the millage rate.
Chad, I can recommend, okay, in my
Absolutely, and as a
recommendation.
constituent, I can ask of my council
Council
people.
carries
what
policy, they carry tax increases,
Absolutely.
and that is up to them.
Oh, which is why I'm here to ask.
Well,
And-
apparently it doesn't matter what we tell you because you make stuff up anyway. So we raised taxes once. It was agreed upon when we came in here, and you said we raised them 3 times. What were the other 2?
So, well, that's not really about this, but I would love to address that. So it started off at 1.8.
That's what it says in the paper.
Correct. So it started off at 1.8 after the reassessment, correct?
That's
In a
correct.
reassessment year, you can only raise up to 5%, correct? So you raised the 5%. You then went to
We
court.
didn't raise it.
Who's we? Because I wasn't here when that happened.
You were not. Councilman Griesbach and others were.
Whoa.
Okay, so it was raised from 1.8.
I
It was
raised. That's a better
It
statement.
was raised 5%. You then had to go to court to raise it to 2.2 mils,
But the
correct?
council did not raise the first time, correct? The assessment did that.
No, the assessment took it to 1.8, from 2 mil down to 1.8.
Okay, so we did not raise it.
Correct. Just
If
say
if
correct.
everyone, for 1 second, if we could all just pull this in for a second, we're going to be, let's talk about the 2018 budget.
Absolutely.
For everyone here.
But for everyone's sake, I mean, I was just called a liar here. I'd like to
Well, you
simply
are.
point out,
You are.
went from
And you'll
1.8.
continue to lie. And I'm about done hearing it. How's that? I could keep going and doing this all night, Chad. I'm done listening to you. I'm not running for council. You're trying to run for mayor, that's fine. I'm not. As a constituent, I like who's sitting here. I don't like you twisting people's words. I don't like you making up numbers. It's not good for this community. Continue. I just need people to know that you don't tell the truth.
Very good. So it was at 1.8 mil. It was raised 5%, correct, Manager Little? Then had to go to court to be taken up to 2.2 mils. That was the second. There's 2 ordinances passed in 2013 for 2 tax increases. And then in the subsequent year, it was raised to 4 mil, right? It went from 2.2 to 4. So yes, it went from 1.8, raised
Are you
5%.
saying you wouldn't have listened to the court?
You have to listen to the court.
The court lowered it from 2 mil and made it net neutral to 1.8 mil. The council raised it 5%, the maximum amount you can raise in a reassessment year.
Not this council.
There were members that were on the council then. I'm not saying anyone individually. I'm saying the council raised it 5% in 2013. Then went to the court to petition to get it up to 2.2 mil. 2.2 mil was then raised to 4 mil. Is that accurate, Mr. Little?
We raised taxes in 2014, about 1.6, it was 1.59 something. So it was, so between, there's a tax increase between 2.2 and 2.4. There was, there's a missing link there. If I don't know if,
No, it went from 2.2 to 4.0, correct?
that's what I don't know.
Okay. So there were 3 tax increases.
No,
That's-
I don't think it was 2.2, Chad. I think it was something like 2.
Well, I can email you all
something.
copies. In 2013, there were 2 ordinances passed with 2 tax increases. And then there was a substantial increase that took it up to 4 mil.
Can I ask you what that has to do with us?
I don't know. You'll have to ask Mr. Claire why he inquired.
No, you
No,
put it
you
in the
put it in the
paper.
paper.
Correct.
Well,
What's that have to do with us?
I'm not running against you, Mr. Harvey. I'm not trying to make this into anything other than
Well, who's
asking.
You make
2018
everything into
budget
everything,
hearing.
Chad. It's what you do.
So in the 2018 budget.
Mr. Stubenberg, could you, 2018 budget, please.
Okay.
You have the floor.
Absolutely. The 2018 budget, I'm just simply inquiring, Manager Little is requesting a 1 mil increase for capital improvement projects only. I understand that. I'm just simply asking where council stands on that. I believe that everyone has the right to know where people stand on that. Does anyone want to answer? If not, that's fine.
Until we get through these
Thank you for your
budget
time.
hearings, I have nothing.
And once again, to clarify, there is in the budget message that Mr. Little presented, the message, he recommended a 1 mil increase for capital improvements, which is roads, storm drains. However, that is not in the budget. The budget that we are voting on, if we pass the budget as is, there is no tax increase, just to be clear. Any other public comments on 2018 budget?
You can sit there and smile at me all day, Chad. It doesn't bother me.
Sign in, I've not done this
Please,
before.
You could sign in, that'd be
Sign your
great.
name in, and then you can just say your name and that you are from Monroeville. You don't need to give your street address or
Oh,
anything.
okay, great, thank you.
Sorry, I'm Brenda Walsh. And
You're going to have to speak.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you, sorry, thank you. I'm Brenda Walsh, I live here in Monroeville, and my question on the budget, from what I read, was that there was an item, sorry, I'm nervous.
Okay, that's fine.
It's all right, just relax.
There was an item to recommend a full-time position for someone to solely be responsible for handling right-to-know requests at an annual rate of $15K. Did I not read that correctly?
It was for a part-time.
Oh, 15K, guess that would have to be part-time, wouldn't it? Sorry. Okay, thank you for the correction. But for the sole purpose of handling right-to-know requests, correct?
Correct.
Okay, my question is that legal? Because it seems like it's solely for retribution and retaliation for those, and I've not lived here long, but, you know, trying to catch up and reading and politics and everything, it just seems like it's retribution for a few people who have requested them over and over again, that it is, I can understand where it would be a burden, but having someone solely to do that seems like a direct retribution for those that have done it, when if you were transparent on the information and it was posted, no one would have to ask for the information. So that's my question. Can I say it as a question? Is it legal? Can I just ask that?
Let me answer that.
You know what, I don't know if it's legal or not. I think one thing that you said, transparency, I think most everything that we do is transparent. We just happen to have a few residents that make it their business to do nothing but continuously over and over and over and over again at extraordinarily numbers of right-to-knows for nothing to do except cause one of our employees, that the poor guy can't get his job done because he's spending all his time trying to take care of these right-to-knows. That's where that comes in.
And here's
And I can appreciate that, but again, I'm going to go back to the legality of it. I'm not a lawyer. it just seems like it is, if I was in the workplace, that seems like retaliation for something that I would do as an employee. So my concern is, I can understand where you would do it as overhead, that, wow, this is a burden. You know, if it was non-political, it would be, wow, this is really a burden. We're having a lot of these requests. So we really need, the overhead is huge. We need to add another person to handle multiple things, and this is included. When you single it out, it just seems really, really illegal to me. I'm just
right-to-know
gonna say
law
that.
requires specific answers within specific times. Some of these requests, these right-to-knows that are filed, require a lot of research. And if you don't reply to the Office of Open Records properly, with the proper documents, then what they end up doing is taking you to court because they don't think you're responding properly. Okay. When the gentleman up there doesn't have the time and doesn't get that notarized document in on the exact day that he's supposed to, our solicitor ends up downtown explaining to the judge why that occurred.
And that cost us even more money.
And so what happens is if somebody files a right to know and says, how many brick are in the municipal building? Well, he files a response that says, we don't know. The person that files the right to know files an appeal. It goes out to Harrisburg. Harrisburg sends a document back. Why don't you know? You see where I'm going?
I do. I fully appreciate that side of it. I do. But what then happens when you hire this person part-time to pay $15K, but your line item is so specific, and suddenly there's no more right to know? So a person moves out of, whoever you're complaining about has moved, there are no more right to knows. What do you do with this person now?
Then you wouldn't need them anymore.
That's why they're part-time.
Mr. Li-
I'm sorry, what is your name? I didn't hear.
Brenda Walsh.
Brenda, I'm not totally understanding what you're talking about on two levels. One on the retribution level, and we'll hold that right there for a second. And you're saying that that this is going to make it less transparent. What we're trying to do is we're trying to be more transparent than what we are. And I think we're as transparent as we possibly can be within how Mr. Harvey described it with respect to the time elements involved. This is a problem all across the country. And because the right to know law, which was passed in 2009, and was in line with certain other right to know laws in Illinois, California, it has just proliferated the RTKs across the Commonwealth. It has just ballooned. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we want to be transparent. But this part-time position will make it more transparent. And the gentleman, Joe Sedlak, who is our HR director and also our right-to-know officer, will give him more time to do HR duties in a municipality this size with 141 full-time employees and over 100 seasonal and part-time employees. Okay. So to have an HR department in a community this size should have 3 people in it. We have one who is also, his time is taken up doing RTKs. This in no way is talking about making things less transparent. In getting back to the retribution, that you're going to have to explain that to me, and I don't understand that.
I didn't say this was make it less transparent. To me, if everything was transparent, there would be less reason to have to submit right to knows. My impression, it's just my impression, that the reason there would be so many is because people feel like they're not getting the information that should be. And that might be totally off base.
I think I can tell, like a lot of our right to knows, I think I can say this, are, I want a copy of the last council meeting, where you can get one for free from the library. Or I want to know a copy of the brochure the library handed out, you know, whatever, it's things like that. It really are things that are
Here's an
public.
example.
It's-
There was a right to know filed on how much fuel 2 of the ambulances in Monroeville used in a 3-month period. Well, it's not published anywhere. It's not, they would have to go into the computer that tracks the fuel pumps over there and print it out. But, so it's stuff like that that we don't know.
And it is fair enough that, you know, like you said, the law was passed in 2009, so there have been, you know, it does burden the personnel, and I can see having to add personnel. I guess my real problem is that it's singled out that this person is a full-time person and that's their only duty, that is their duty, instead of general HR that, hey, if you're not busy, you know, you add a person to the whole department, so when you're not busy, you do that. Because we have this, you've singled it out to be strictly for right to know, so that to me seems to be retribution, directly a thumb in somebody's eye, because you've asked for these, we're going to add 15, and I'm just saying, when I'm looking at line items, 15K is 15K of our budget, and I just wondered if the way it was worded,
Well, you
it
know
just
what, that
seems
makes,
like
that makes a little bit of
retributive.
sense how you're saying it, so all we would have to do is, if we're gonna hire a part-time person, is put them in with our department and let
Yes.
them work accordingly.
Yes,
whatever it
and
is.
not be specifically to one duty only. I'm
There
sorry,
you
you
go.
can't
I
do anything else because you were targeted just for right to know. The way it's worded seems
I
very
understand.
much detrimental to the community. Thanks, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Keep the floor open for public comment on the 2018 budget.
My name is Alyssa Beck. I live in Monroeville, Pennsylvania. I guess I could piggyback on that last statement. It's an interesting statement to me because I've heard a lot about transparency, and I'm glad to hear, Tim, that you're mentioning things, you want things to be more transparent. I think a lot of the issues that we've been working with recently in council may have to do with lack of transparency, such as, for example, I don't know how many people in Monroeville right now know that Monroeville is being sued by Geokinetics. I think that's an issue that ought to be, for example, up on the website so that people can get activated to work with it. So there's a lot of
It is on
trans-
our
It
website.
is.
It is on our website.
that there's a lawsuit?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Been up there for
It has
about a
been.
week, Alyssa.
For a week? Okay, well, when it first happened on October 11th, I, for example, didn't know about it, so I would think that things would be put up
All the
as,
court documents are up there.
as
We got
they're,
them as soon as they came up.
okay,
Or we put them up
as soon as you have them?
Yeah.
Well, no, you can't rush into it. You got to find out what the solicitor says. Maybe he says, don't post that yet.
But it's on there.
Okay. I mean, I personally would love to see, and on the budget issue, I would love to see a sustainability coordinator put into place in Monroeville. I don't really know much about budget in Monroeville. I've never been to a budget hearing before. I assumed when I walked in the door there would be a paper copy of it. I know that you read it last time, and I was here for that.
But it is online.
Yeah, and so when we, and so are you saying the capital improvements 1 mil increase would be on the 2019 budget?
18.
But we're talking about the
It's-
2018 budget?
Yeah.
Okay, so if there's a 1 mil increase for roads and storm drains, for example, I think it would be incumbent upon the municipality of Monroeville to work within the context of sustainability. So if Monroeville is going to spend the money with our 1 mil increase of tax dollars to do the same old that Monroeville has been doing, then we're going to be putting more money into it than we need to.
There's no tax increase here.
There's no tax, we're
Well,
not talking about tax increase.
Okay, well, so I don't understand then, but are you saying that is there money in the 2018 budget for roads and storm drains?
Yes.
Okay. We started a concept of pay-as-you-go with respect to capital in Monroeville. Monroeville is approximately $26 million in bond issues that are outstanding. We pay $3.2 million a year on debt service. It's just like paying your mortgage, your credit card. And that won't reduce until the year 2024. Our debt service is about 10% approximately of our general fund. The Government Finance Officers Association recommends 10% should be the max of your general fund. We approached that, we were over that, we were 11% over that, but because our debt service has come down a little bit and we've been on a pay-as-you-go, we're reducing. It's just like reducing your mortgage, not making an extra pay. We're trying to get out of the debt we're in. That was my recommendation to council in 2014, and it is still my recommendation. Don't float any bonds.
Which we have not. Make sure
Which
that
we
everyone
have not.
understands
We haven't
have
floated a
not
bond,
borrowed
we've
any money.
refunded. Can I finish? Because there seems to be confusion, and I want to try and clear that up. Now, what we have done is we have transferred $1 million, which was from the last tax increase in 2014. Okay? That was part of, we get about $2.3 million on a mill. We raise mill approximately 1.59, somewhere around there. And that brought in maybe about $3 million. $1 million of that goes into the Capital Improvement Fund. In government accounting, you have separate funds. Now, in the meantime, when you go on your pay-as-you-go, we used to spend just $1 million on roads alone in Monroeville. We only spent $250,000 in 14. And I think in 15 we did the same thing. We upped it to $500,000. And this year I've recommended putting another $300,000 in to spend $800,000 on roads. Because out of that $1 million comes $500,000 comes out for roads. All right? So as you don't fix things as much as you did before, as I said in my budget message, they begin to deteriorate. I have had this in my budget message the last 2 years, and I may have had it in the last 3 years. I don't know if it goes back to 15. It may be in there. But everything deteriorates. My responsibility of the manager of this municipality is to inform this council and the residents what's coming down the road here in the future. And when I say the future, I mean 2, 3, 5, 10 years. And our infrastructure is deteriorating. And we've had more people since I've been working here complaining about the roads. Now the sewer lines, we don't have to worry about in the water. That's the authority's responsibility. But it's other things like vehicles, police vehicles, public works vehicles. I told the department heads, and I said this publicly, don't put in for any vehicles next year. All right? Because the $1 million we're transferring, $1 million in a community this size just doesn't go too far. We would spend over $2 million every year, computers, vehicles, roads, maintaining buildings from a capital perspective, maybe putting a roof on a building, taking care of the parks. All that stuff has to come out of capital. All right, in my recommendation for the last 2-3 years, yes, and I'll stand by it, is somewhere down the line, you're going to have to increase or you're going to have to float a bond. You float a bond, it's just like taking out a credit card. In the long run, you pay more money on the interest. So that's what this community is up against right now. Now, as Mr. Griesbach is saying, there is not a $1 million increase in the budget. It's not budgeted in capital. Let's just talk capital. It's not in there. But my recommendation is to put it in there. It's up to this council to do it or not.
Okay,
May I add one other thing? So many people, including myself, prior to getting on here and getting a little more educated on it, the minute they heard the word capital, they thought the word borrow. And I think that's where the confusion lies. Mr. Little's talking about a capital budget that's cash, not borrowing. So I just wanted to-
okay, so I think, Mr. Little, thank you, Mr. Harvey. A lot of what you said just now, I heard you say at the last meeting, and so I'm going to try to say what I'm saying in a different way. If we were to decide to put money towards green infrastructure rather than what we have been doing, I'm suggesting that there will be less capital dollars needed to do this work. What I am not hearing yet from this part of the room is that we are moving towards working green infrastructure into our budget. And so what I'm suggesting is that as that happens, it becomes an economic cash flow in a direction that hasn't been seen by our municipality before. Like I mentioned at the last meeting where I spoke, Millvale has this Pivot 2.0 process going. They have a sustainability coordinator. They're working with community very closely to bring money in so that we don't, I'm blessed. I don't have a mortgage. I don't have credit card debt. I want to see Monroeville that happen, and I'm suggesting it could happen before 2024 if we're a little bit more open about how we go about doing this. And so I am suggesting, I haven't looked at the budget in detail, but I'm suggesting that a sustainability coordinator be put in place so that you have somebody on your staff to advise you about, for example, how permeable pavement will not only be potentially less expensive to put down on the road, but it will capture water so that we're not overflowing into Pitcairn and into our sewage overflows in the city of Pittsburgh. That's what I'm here to say. And I know that maybe I start to sound redundant, and maybe I haven't figured out yet how to say things in a way that's most appropriate. But I'm just here to say that I think that there's other ways that we can all go about things where we don't have to have floating bonds, and, we can rather have floating clean rivers,
Your point is taken. I think
Okay.
maybe it's a discussion actually with our engineering department, which there are no representatives from that department.
And does that happen before the 9th, between now and the 9th, so that there could be a line item put in for the 9th that would include that?
Well, we wouldn't be, I guess
Because,
the earliest, we wouldn't be enacting a budget on November 9th. We'll have our next budget hearing then, but we would not be voting on it until the December meeting, the December regular council meeting. But that, what you're talking about is not in this current budget. It would take some work to get that in there probably even for our engineering department to even figure out exactly the rule that you're discussing and talking about, to figure out how to even work that into the municipality.
I don't think it's,
It may be more of a long-term thing to talk about. It may that's something that our staff can look at what other communities are doing, maybe like Millvale, and maybe they can kind of see what some of these other communities are doing along these lines. But for us as a council to just throw that in there now, I don't know how effective that would be.
I don't think, to me, if you do it right, it's a project for the 2019 budget.
Work on it through all of 18.
I mean, that's the way I see it, because
Makes sense.
otherwise, trying to get it in here, I think it would be half-paged and probably wouldn't turn out to be what you're thinking, where if you plan for the 2019 budget, you can sit down and outline it out and mold it and come up with costs, and, you know exactly where you want to be with the cost of a department like that and
What they would do.
what they would do.
And how does a citizen get directly involved, or how does a group of citizens get directly involved with that kind of a thing?
Well, maybe the first step is to, I mean, if council is okay with it, to direct Mr. Little to maybe explore what other communities are doing, maybe some surrounding communities, maybe Millville, and see what
Well,
kind
the
of.
city of Pittsburgh is,
Yeah, and
you
then
know,
he
there's
certainly
other-
he could certainly make his contacts that he has and see what's out there.
The other thing that could
Go
happen
from there.
is that the deputy mayor could form a small committee to research this stuff and bring information to us.
Right.
And
I mean, Alyssa, I hear you, okay, and I understand your point. I understand Amy Rockwell, she's a manager down in Millville, and I understand what's going on in Millville, and also, Millville has had a lot of problems with that, with respect to Gertie's Run and the overflow and all of that, and they've been given a lot of attention through the decades because of that. And I've talked briefly with Amy in the last 2 years about different things they are doing. And it is laudable, there's no question about it. And can Monroeville do things? And I think we talked about that, I think it was at a public meeting, and I think maybe you and I talked about it on the phone with respect to a grant that's still hanging out there through the Allegheny Conservation District, which is through Westmoreland County and the school district, putting in bioswales and impermeable pavement up at the library, and doing different things of that nature. So, I mean, I personally, I hear you. I hear what you're saying, and it does take time to do that kind of thing because, there's a certain amount of money here, and as everybody, nobody likes to raise taxes. Nobody, up here or out there in the audience or on TV, nobody likes to see a tax increase. But if you want to have a sustainable director, then something else has to give, or you raise taxes, and that's just a microcosm of it.
My opinion is that we're just all guessing here until we start gathering information, get the little committee together, find out what they're going to do, what it's going to cost, and maybe it's going to save us some money in some places. It's hard to plug it in.
Yeah, it would be like putting the cart before the horse, because we don't have enough information.
I'm not as educated on that as I should be, but, if you
We're
start
always
gathering for
learning.
2019, it might be possible.
Yeah,
Thank you for the suggestion.
okay, thank you.
thank you.
I'm going to leave the floor open for public comment on 2018 budget. This will be your only time to comment this evening for the public. We will be shortly going into the department heads going through their budget, so if anyone would like to comment from the public, now's your time. Seeing none, we'll move over to the department heads question and answer portion of the meeting, where the department heads of the different departments will be going through their individual budgets. And we're going to start with the senior center with Tara Griesok.
Are you already on the page on? What page are you on? Thank you.
97.
In expenditure?
Thank you.
Ron?
Yeah,
Yeah, expenses.
thank you.
Should match page 97.
I gotta get one for myself, sorry.
And the senior center's budget is on page 96 and page 97 of, for the expenditures is on those pages.
Tara's gave us a nice handout. I hope all the other departments do.
I made it very easy for you. I put it all in the folder, so there's no hunting for me. So,
Thank you, Tara.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
You'll see the first stapled packet is the actual budget. That's, the top page is the revenue side of the senior center. I'm just gonna briefly talk about that because during the discussion of our achievements, for the year, I will get into more specifics about the revenue with Silver Sneakers and Silver and Fit. But you will see that the Silver Sneakers, I've increased the amount of revenue to be taken in next year from $18,000 to $20,000. And Silver and Fit from $6,000 to $7,000. And then, as always, Monroeville Senior Council contributes yearly to the budget. So this year, they contributed $10,000. Next year, they will be contributing $10,000. To clarify, that pays for the part-time employee that supervises the building during the evening, the full salary of that employee. It also pays for one of our Silver Sneakers instructors. So I just want to clarify that they pay for those two positions. It does not come out of the municipal budget. If you turn the page, you will see the municipal budget for the senior center. You will also see in the next stapled packet a synopsis of the adjustments that I've made to the municipal budget for the senior center. So I do not have in the budget adjustment the regular salary because there wasn't much of a change to it from last year to this year. You will notice like the actual, but I wanted to clarify a few things though. You will notice the actual budget for this year, what was projected and what the actual is quite low. That's because we had 2 employees go on disability this year. So that's why there's a little bit of difference in the payout of that. That also did affect the part-time budget. You will see that I have gone over in that. But that is because one of the employees was our fitness coordinator, and in order to continue to teach our fitness classes, we had our part-time Silver Sneakers instructor take over his classes. But it will still be less than, it'll not be a shortfall because the difference between her pay and his pay are obviously different. So. That's why I wanted to show or explain to you why it looks a little weird there. I also wanted to, there's not much that I've changed in my budget because as you know, I've council, over the past couple years, we've done some major restructuring in our department as far as full-time staff. So I want to point out that my budget for full-time salary is less than what it was over the past 3 years, and that's because we eliminated one of the 2 custodial positions. We did add a full-time fitness coordinator, but that salary was much less than the 1 custodian position that we eliminated. So that's talking about the salaries. The biggest change in my budget is the healthcare and hospitalization. So that's why it's at the top of my list. You will see that it's increased quite a bit, and I know Josie's going to get into more discussion about that as a whole within the municipality, but you will see it went from $65,000 to a little over $65,000 to a little over $124,000. That increase is for 4 active employees and 3 retired employees. So I want it cleared or clarified that the health care for my department as well as the other departments does include retired employees. So that's not just full-time, active employees. It includes the retirees, and I have 3 in my department.
Can I question that? Are we changing the line item to go to the departments versus it all being in one line item?
Well, we are having, yes, we're putting that in the actual departments. You mean in
The retirees, like their OPEB, the OPEBs, the health insurance, they're
What
being now,
what I would like to do is have a separate line item for the retirees.
yes, because what if
Yes.
somebody works, say Public
Yes.
Works for 15 years, and then they go over and work at the senior center for 2, then they retire, where do you put their health care, under the
Right.
senior center? That's not fair to them.
Well, and,
Sense.
and that, you know, from an
makes sense.
accounting viewpoint
Yeah,
and keeping with transparency,
yeah.
I would like to have the OPEB contribution that we're required to make to the fund, which we do have a separate line for. However, on that hospitalization and health insurance,
Yeah.
my intention is for 18 to split that into the two so that when Tara or anybody's looking at their budget, they can say, okay, here's how much we have for our active employees, and then on the next line below it, here's what we have for our retirees, because it's becoming
I mean, you can
a
see from
larger and
mine.
larger expense.
Right.
Correct, and it doesn't look well if you look at the numbers to the
Correct.
department, it looks like, what the heck did they do? Well, they didn't do
Exactly.
anything.
Exactly.
Right. If you're looking at my budget at the bottom line, you're
Yes,
seeing
you're
that
like,
it
wait, and
increased
a lot of people
100,000.
do, they go from
But-
A just to Z, and they're like, wait a minute, something's wrong here.
Well, even if you look at the healthcare, you think, holy mackerel, you can't be paying that much healthcare for 4 employees.
Well, you'll see, like, it's 69,000 for active employees and
Yeah.
56 for the
Retired.
retirees, so
Well, that's-
it's
that's-
just as much for,
That is commensurate with how many employees, if I'm not mistaken, in my budget message, we have 124 active employees, and I think it was 111 retirees, so we're paying almost the same amount on health
For
care
the
for
people that aren't even
retirees
here.
as we are for active.
We
I
just have-
mentioned that last year, too.
right.
Maybe not even a line item, maybe could we even have a separate
A separate
page
budget
with the
item.
entire, all the
You can't do a
retirees?
separate budget, but a separate.
A
page.
separate page for just the retirees, and keep it out of each department's budgets, because that would be more transparent,
Or at least a uniform and non-uniform. perhaps.
something, because this is very confusing, I think, to the public especially, that doesn't deal with this all the time. So,
So you're saying you'd like to see it in its own separate,
yeah, because you
Category.
can't really,
Maybe just
I don't know that
retiree
everyone-
healthcare as one category, which covers all the different
Well,
departments.
if I can make a comment about that, and that's more or less a philosoph, and if you want us to do that, we will do it. It's more or less a philosophical a budgeting process, because if somebody may take the other school of thought saying, well, I want to know the total cost for this department.
Yeah.
And in reality, the retirees would be part of that. Now, if your philosophy is, well, no, we don't like that because we think that adds too much expense to that department, in this case, senior citizen, which really isn't an expense. We would like to have that on a separate page unto itself. So that's a philosophical question. We can do that, too. That's no
well, I
problem.
think it's clearer to the public to be able to see it in one
Sure,
bulk
no
number,
problem.
Yeah,
than
and
what,
Lin-
are they gonna go through every department and start adding it up and
Right, in
see
Linda's
what the
example,
true cost
what do you
is?
think?
Yeah, in Linda's example, where you could have someone in Public Works working
I think
for,
it should be with the department.
you could have in Linda's example, we could have a department head or a Public Works employee working there for 20 years, then becomes a code enforcer for 1 year and then retires.
Where do
That doesn't
you,
reflect very well
No.
on the code enforcement.
you can't go with
line item.
percentages of how long they've worked one place versus another. I mean, I think it should be open for discussion anyways to,
And just for the benefit of the public, we spend $1.2 million on retiree health care in this community. And that goes back in labor contracts going back decades. Just so the community knows that, out of a $32 million budget, that's what we spend.
well, how would anybody know that without going through and adding up every single department? If it was in one, if they were in a separate line item.
We can, yeah, sure, we can break that out. That's no, on a separate page, that's no problem.
Okay.
Sorry.
Hair
No,
going.
it confused me.
I mean, the reason why I
because
brought it up is
That makes
because
sense.
it was the
Your
the
first
the
and the
biggest
numbers
increase
just
in the
kind
department.
of smacked me right
Well,
in the face.
it kind of shocked me because I don't enter that part of my budget, Josie does.
Yeah.
So when I
Here
when
come the
I
boss.
entered it, it was under the 400, it was 400 and
Yeah.
something thousand.
Well,
And
it
then I
just-
looked at it, I'm like, is that wrong? And then I saw it was healthcare, so I did question it because I
Well, that's why I
wanted,
am. It smacked me in the face.
I wanted as a department head to.
Can I make a comment for reporting purposes for your CAFR? That line item won't show up for when we do our CAFR, our
Yeah.
financial statements.
Yeah,
I believe that the auditors will put that back into the department. Or it'll all go into the general fund administration.
We don't like that.
But it's
Like
not,
it broke out.
it's not gonna, if you look at a CAFR, there's no line item
Retirees.
well, there's pension, but normally that's within the department. Again, I don't think this discussion really applies to the budget. I understand what you're saying, and Tim and I'll accommodate
Yeah,
whatever
well,
you want us to do.
Yeah.
And if we have to do it for the budget and then change it at the end of the year, that's what we do.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Are you happy now?
I'm always happy.
Tara, continue.
Ready? Okay, so
Wait, what
obviously,
what
we talked about
department are you again?
healthcare and OPEB. Part-time employee, I did increase that. That is just there as a, may not use, but it's there as a needed in case one of us has to, mainly Chris, our fitness coordinator, if he needs to go out for some being sick or whatever, we do need to have somebody teach the classes. So that's why I increased that a little bit. I may or may not use it, but I wanted it there just so that what happened this year doesn't happen next year or in years to come. Contractual, it did go up from 15.5 to 19.5, but that's just, as you can see, I moved $2,000 from general office supplies up into contractual services. It's just moving from one line item to the other because of the way that we now get billed for our copier. It's a new copier. In the past, we got one bill for the lease, one bill for the copies. Now it all comes into one bill, so I just, it's basically just maneuver of funds from one line to another. Building maintenance, Tim already kind of talked about us not having a capital budget, so myself and all the other department heads are trying to be very conservative about what we're doing as far as capital budgets, but there are some things that just need to be fixed. So we do have a window in one of the rooms in the fitness, or in the center. The card room actually has a original window from like when it was built back in the late 70s. So I'm asking that be replaced. It's $5,750. The other constant problem in our building is our roof. We do have a flat roof. Back in years past, we would reseal that roof every 2 years. Don't do that anymore. That's to reseal our roof would be close to $15,000. So the $3,000 is just to do basic patchwork in the areas that are extremely bad and we're having leakage into the actual facility. So that was an increase from $6,000 to $10,000 to cover the window and the roof repair. The membership dues and membership I increased from $200 to $500. We have recently become a certified Idea Health and Fitness facility. With that, we get monthly benefits from being a member of that association for our fitness center. We also have Chris, who is our certified facility operator, who's required to do CEUs to keep his certification. So with that yearly membership, he gets to take a lot of classes for free for that. So it kind of counteracts it. So that wasn't something that we had in the past. So it's an addition to the budget. Seminar expenses, I did raise that so that Chris and myself could go to the actual conference this year. That only covers us getting into the conference itself. Senior council will be offsetting the expenses of the travel for that. Cleaning supplies, you will see in our goals that are our achievements that are Attendance continues to increase yearly, so with that, there's more usage in the building, obviously more cleaning supplies. So I did raise that up just a little bit, $500. Same with general office supplies. It's just more
Went down.
usage of the facility, more office supplies.
That went down.
Oh, yeah, that
No.
went down too, actually.
Went down.
Sorry, it went down because the 2,000
2,000 went up to the copier, up to the contract
Right.
services.
The back page, you'll see I just added, because we were talking about the hospitalization, that just spells out who's being paid for that. Just wanted you to see that. Getting to the achievements of the center, you'll see the top page, it's two of the same thing kind of, but you'll see the breakdown of Silver and Fit on the front. Silver and Fit is obviously a much smaller program than Silver Sneakers. It hasn't been around as long, it's not as established as Silver Sneakers, which is a Highmark sponsored program. Silver and Fit is UPMC. The way that it works is if a member of our center is eligible for Silver and Fit, they are registered to be a member of our center through that. For every visit to our center, we get $3.25. So we have about close to 200 Silver and Fit members that visit our facility. So far, since yesterday, we've collected over $7,000. I projected to collect $6,000, so hopefully by the end of the year, it'll be close to $10,000 of me
Be for
collecting.
the month of October.
Yeah, for the whole year.
No, well, I'm a month behind, so I've been paid for, because I haven't submitted, obviously, October's visits yet. So that's through,
Duh.
payments through
September.
September. So I'm projecting close to $10,000 for that. So that'll be $4,000 approximately more than what we projected to make. If the next page is Silver Sneakers, which is obviously a much bigger program for us. We have quite a few members for Silver Sneakers. Under the goals, it lists how many. I don't want to say without saying it correctly. But you'll see that we have collected to date, so September's payment, up to September's payment, we have collected over $20,597. So if we continue to collect, we collect approximately about $2,400 a month. So if we continue to collect that, we will be close to $28,000. So that's $10,000 more than what's projected. And I do want to give credit to Chris, our fitness coordinator. Definitely adding that full-time position has shown that it's an asset to our center. Obviously, the income that we make from these two programs go towards his salary. So he provides a wider range of different fitness, health and wellness programs to our center. He has helped increase our attendance tremendously. Also, a big part of it is making sure that everybody comes through the door is asked whether they have Silver Sneakers and Silver and Fit. So that also falls in the hands of Carol Olson, our program coordinator. In the past, we didn't really have a strict handle on that, of making sure that people were signed up for those two programs so that we were getting reimbursed. So she makes sure that she finds out whether they are or not. There were many people within our center that had the program but didn't know that it made a difference whether they had it or not. So I want to give credit to both of them for helping us make more money. So,
And the new equipment.
huh?
The equipment has.
Oh, yeah, the fitness center has definitely, where the actual equipment is, has definitely increased our attendance. So just with our new equipment coming Monday, we have signed up probably a dozen people already, just from them seeing the posts on Facebook and stuff about our new equipment. So, so as far as our goals, I mean, obviously, it's all written there, I don't need to read it all, but you'll definitely see the increase in attendance over the years. You know, when I started at the center in 2006, coming from the rec department, they were seeing maybe 500 people a month at the center. Now we see close to, 5,500 people at the center on a monthly basis. So it's, to me, quite a big of an increase. As far as members, too, when I first walked in there was a card table with a spiral notepad, and that's how people were signing into the center. There was no really no log of who was coming in, where they lived, where they were coming from. So that was my first goal, was for liability and for safety purposes, to find out who everybody was coming in. And that's when we got a grant to add a software program to keep track of the members that were coming in. So there's no really saying how many were coming in, but it wasn't many. So to have probably by the end of the year close to 7,000 members is astonishing. It's not just me who's done that, it's my staff, it's senior council. We all work together really well to make sure that we continue to provide new programming for the seniors of Monroeville. Another question is, people ask about non-residents coming to our facility. Senior council this year, when I came in there, non-residents were paying nothing to use our facility. So over the years, I've instated a non-resident fee, and we have increased it throughout the years. This year, they pay $60 a year to use our facility, which averages out to more than actually what a resident pays to use the facility when you look at the percentage of my budget and the taxes, which I think, let's make it perfectly clear, I am totally in agreement with that. As a taxpayer in Monroeville myself, I feel the non-residents should contribute to our center, and they do. If that person is a Silver Sneakers or Silver and Fit member, I'm obligated by contract with both of those programs that I cannot charge a fee for them to use our facility. But you are getting $3.25 for each visit that they come into the center, which far exceeds the $60 a year. So the non-residents do pay to use our facility. You'll just see there like the different programs we've added through the year. This year, under accomplishments, you'll see our biggest thing is to try and expand our evening programming. Originally, it was just, it was open for the fitness facility, but we've had people ask to come do other activities. So we feel if we're open till 8 o'clock at night, it should be universal. It should be for all kinds of programming, not just health and fitness. So that's my goal, Chris and Carol's goal, and Senior Council's goal for 2018 is to increase the program into the evening hours. Seems we are open for 50 and over. A lot of those 50 to 65, even into your 70s, are working. So we want to provide those people with just as much as the people that don't work during the day and have all the programming and the great activities that we have during the day, just as many at night. So if you don't have any questions, I think
I got one. It's
Yeah.
about the roof.
Yes.
Can you explain the roof to me again?
It's a flat roof, similar, is this one flat too?
Yeah.
Yeah,
this one's
Public
fine.
Works is too. So there needs to be a Lumacoat, which goes on top of it every, it's supposed to be like every 2 years. But with no capital budget, we just don't do that. So our foreman for building maintenance, John Hizzy, we've had quite a few leaks over the past years, kind of been patching little areas. So that's what that's there for, to kind of go to the areas we didn't address this year and kind of go a little bit further with it, just to kind of cushion it until.
So just for the benefit of everything, that's what I thought you meant, and that's a shame. See, everybody wants everything, but nobody wants to pay anything for it. Everybody's screaming taxes are too high, tax this, tax that. Everybody that's running for council is, we're not raising taxes, we're hiring more police. Council's spending money all crazy. And it's just not true. Tara's going to be one of every department head that comes up here and tells us what they just plainly don't have the money to do. You know, you're going to have a guy in the back room smiling, lying about all the tax raises we did. You know, and it's mind-boggling to me. I voted on the tax raise when I first came on council, and I stand behind it. And if I would still be here, I'd vote on it again. You've got a senior center, you've got your garbage removal, you've got your own 911 center, and then you've got your director coming up here going, yeah, we can't fix the roof.
Well,
Really?
I didn't talk about the 12 units, the heating and air conditioning units that are 30 years old,
And-
that we're babying. so-
Exactly. And the $10,000 the seniors raised, and the $50,000 the library raised. This is going to go on and on and on, guys. It's a paradox that we're stuck in. And
Well,
it's-
let's make
it's
it
just
clear, like, the
frustrating.
$10,000 just pays for the full-time employees. I am fortunate that I have senior council who backs me on a lot of things. So they
And that's
have,
my point.
they
They
have
raise their own money.
They do.
anything that deals with programming and the
Yes.
equipment or the expenses that you need to run programs is paid for by senior council. And they have taken over your capital budget for you. In the
Yes.
past, when I started in 2016, if one of our refrigerators broke or our stove broke or whatever, it came out of my capital budget. They are now paying for that. They paid for new carpet and new paint for the facility. So they have paid for your capital budget since we haven't had it, 5 years maybe?
Right.
So, and every cent that they make, down to the penny, goes back into that building. So I just give them, I want to give them acknowledgement for that.
Yes, please.
You
All
know,
the credit in
that
the world.
they wholeheartedly put 100% back into that building to make it what it is. And if I didn't have them, our building would be in much more despair than it is now. So, and that the programming, the money that they spend for that, is not reflected in this budget. So you're talking close to probably $100,000 a year that they put into the building in addition to this to run the programming.
And we
The
can't
fitness
budget a
facility is
$10,000
another
roof
thing
for
that a lot of people talk about. That is fully funded by donations, grants, and senior council. It's not paid for by the actual the equipment and all that. You know, we just got a $15,000 grant from Forbes Hospital. Got to take the regional out of there. So we go out when we need new things. We go out and find the money for it, so that we don't have to come and ask you for it. So
You do a hell of a good job.
we understand that times are tough, and myself and the 15 people on senior council understand that, and we're here to support you with that, and try not to ask for things unless it's absolutely necessary.
And we have to be very grateful that we have people, department heads and councils, like the senior council, like the library, that are raising all their money, all this money, to do things that need to be done because we don't have it to spend without borrowing more money or raising taxes.
Very good. Any other questions for Tara?
Thank you, Tara. Good
Thank
job.
you.
Good job,
Good
Tara.
job.
Good job. Tina Mueller from the IT department.
Hello, everyone. I don't have any revenue, so my expenditures are on page 2223. So, not very exciting, especially compared to the senior center. But, you know, every time they buy new software, then it's more for us, so. We're actually, our budget's gone down this year. And it's sort of a capital budget thing for us. We're not asking for any new computers or new software for next year. We just have our regular operational expenses. And of course, we're only doing that because we were asked to by our fearless leader to keep things inexpensive.
So where's that going to put you? How far behind time?
Well, we had tried to have this plan where we would buy new computers so that computers would depreciate every 5 years, and then we could replace them. So to do that, I was trying to replace 1/5 of the computers every year. So it's kind of like the road. So you don't replace 1/5 of these computers. They're a little bit older. So then the next year you have twice as many that you really kind of should be upgrading.
So when's the
most
last time you
people
upgraded them?
Well, we did upgrade some this year.
Some.
Some, yeah.
All right.
The reason why her budget went down, if you look at computers and servers, if you're looking at line item, the last line item, it was $85,000 in there, and we took that out. Okay.
That's a shame.
Okay, that was taken out, because actually, that line item should be in the capital, and it has been.
But we don't have capital.
Well, we don't have a formal capital. You know, we know that you have leases on vehicles which total up to $324,000 or somewhere around, or just over $300,000 for leasing on vehicles. Then you have paving of roads, which has been the last 2 years, $500,000. So you're at $800 and some thousand right there, and $1 million you put into the capital every year. So the discretionary $175,000,
Doesn't go very far.
it doesn't go very far.
Right.
Okay? And the only reason we're going to be able to put $300,000 into more of the roads this year, as I'm recommending, is that because that can be taken out of the fund balance. As I have said throughout 2017, our fund balance has been growing and it's healthy. Operationally, we're okay. We're not bad, we're not great. We're okay, operationally. It's the capital end of it where I just see, as I have mentioned for the last 2 years, I see things that are, that need to be upgraded, like we're talking about computers.
That would be
and-
capital, Tim?
That's capital. That line item right there should be in, should be in capital, in reality. But through the last 4 or 5 years, and even going back to 12, and even when I was working here at 10 and 11, some of that stuff has been taken out of capital and put into operational, which it shouldn't be. So I know we have right now a capital improvement program that was passed in 2014 that Sue Worksman and I worked on back in 11. It's a 14 to 2018 capital. And that calls for, in that 5-year period, that calls for $16 million worth of capital items. And we're nowhere near paying for that.
We got about $8.
Nowhere near.
Okay.
Now, the one thing I do want to mention that Tina has in there is for the data processing consultant, which council passed a motion about 1.5 years ago, and that mostly would be for the police department. We haven't done that yet. But we're coming to the point, and when Doug Cole comes up and gives his budget next Thursday, that'll be talked, and he can talk about the different items with respect to the police department, the storage of IT and all that, and there is going to be help needed, not just Monroeville, but this is all across the state, needed for IT people with respect to police departments, with body cameras and the storage of it, the videos, and just more things that the police department need with respect to IT.
And that's kind of where I was going to go with this, because, thank you, by the way, because your budget did come in so low, is, again, getting into this kick in the can thing, the police need IT support. And I don't want to have them working on, 2004 computers, whatever platform, and then they can't support the new radios that the police are going to get, or whatever. I'm not an IT person, but I get your flow. That's my concern.
So Tim, the consultant would be exclusively for the police department?
Well, we've talked back and forth with Chief Cole about that, and yes, virtually, I'll say. I'll say virtually, if we hire an outside consultant, it is going to head in that direction where a lot of that is going to be dealing with the police department. Because now Andy goes down and he'll fix the, fill in the blank.
Everything down there.
Yeah, everything.
Mobile computers in the car.
I want to say the rocket modem, but we got rid of those.
Mobile computers in the cars.
The MDTs, the mobile data terminals that are in the cars. And my understanding is as the years move on, they may even be phased out because we got new cell phones for the police department. And the cell phone, which now they're getting as big as an iPad, a lot of the information
That's easy
is
to
going
see.
to be able to come over the cell phone instead of the MDTs, and I'm sure everybody in the public sees the computer that sits up in a police vehicle. If you ever have gotten into the shotgun up front in a police vehicle, if you ever have, the people watching on TV, you're kind of crunched in there with all the equipment they have in there. In Tina, we have two people, Tina and Andy, that take care of all that.
Well,
So,
shouldn't we have a separate person anyway for just
yes,
because of the
unquestionably.
confidentiality with the police department?
Unquestionably.
Well, shouldn't that be in the police department budget then?
Or would that be in the IT budget?
Well, I want to leave it in the IT because it may not be just totally exclusive. I mean, maybe when we hire somebody and we see where that goes, where the duties are coming out of the box, where they are, is it more so, or is it maybe 50% the police department, 50% other things, and then as the years go on, 5 years out, maybe it will be 90% police. So I believe it should stay in the IT right now.
That particular line item was always reserved for IT consultants that we hire for any purpose. So, you have that money in the budget, then whatever project is going on, whatever's the most impressive need, then it'll be.
Well, I mean, the money's still in the budget, whether it's in your department or the police budget. But I
That's
mean,
true.
when you get, like, say, an administrative assistant for the police department, that position comes out of the police budget.
So, and this person would not have any benefits or anything. So, kind of what I'm thinking is, okay, because the police have these needs, they're going to get these new body cameras, they're going to get this new software. Their needs are going to drive network-related activity. So let's say they need a higher security level. We're going to have to put security software, another layer on top, which really will be for the network, and everybody will be subjected to it. So if it's in the IT budget, that's not really that bad of a thing.
And
Okay.
then lastly, we mentioned it briefly, the computers and servers line item, so it's going down to 0.
Yep.
But in 14 and 15, it was also 0?
Well, we had capital budget then.
Okay, that's where it stopped. So
Yeah.
now,
So we
then-
started putting some things in operating just because we knew there were some things we had to do.
Gotcha.
And because we didn't have the separate funding for capital, we put it in operating.
And then as far as I'm sorry, one more, same line item, the 54,700 for the actual of this year for the computers and servers?
And actually, we've already, some of these things have to happen at the end of the year. We're getting we're converting our staffing software, we're getting all these additional modules for our finance software, and so some of that hasn't actually processed through, but some of it's already like encumbered, so right now, in addition to what you see there, there's another 19,000 already encumbered. So it's just still being purchased because we're still.
Okay, and then my question with that, though, so in that line item, everything that's been purchased, is everything online yet or up and running, or do you have like new equipment that has not been?
There's
Installed yet.
no new equipment that hasn't been installed. We do have one server that we bought specifically for the Munis modules, and they have installed like the test version. We're not going live till later in the month, but there's nothing just sitting around.
Kind of just to Paul's point, as far as, I just want to know if we have things that we're going to be installing, or is everything new that we have is already installed and already being used?
Not all the software is installed yet,
Okay,
but
but the
all the
hardware,
hardware is
okay.
installed, yeah.
All right. Okay, any other questions for Tina? Nope.
Good job, Tina, thank you.
Tina.
Thanks, Tina.
Would have been nice.
Next up will be Joe Habala from TV 15.
I'm on my way up.
Don't worry, Joe, we got all the time in the world.
Don't touch the microphone.
So Joe's going to a wide shot here because he's not running the TV station currently, and he's making his way up.
That's what these guys did.
He runs the control.
They zoomed in.
Paul, go downstairs and take care of that.
I'm on it.
Ron, how many flavors?
Sharon, are you okay?
I'm just cold.
Are you okay with your,
Yes.
you need a break right now, or?
I'm okay.
I would like to thank Mr. Adams for putting some heat on as we were freezing.
I don't know if it's working.
I don't know, but I'm freezing.
I'm comfy. I'm heavy set.
What's in Redwood?
No, I'm good.
If they're fruity, I don't want it.
But I'm husky.
It is.
That's what I'm fruity.
There he is. That was
Yeah.
fast.
Great job, Joe. Good hustle, good hustle.
Yay, Joe.
He ran up the steps.
Slow elevator.
Slow elevator, slow elevator.
Only
Okay,
10,
Joe Habala
10.
from
Can you
our,
turn the heat on?
Cable TV 15.
He's saying
Joe,
mine
the
did.
floor is yours.
All right,
Hey.
my expenditure page is 109 in your books. We sat down and a lot of our lower, some of my items here, one of the big things is for outside services. We've pretty much put 6,000 in there. That's for engineers that have to come in for any technical problems that we're having here, and so that kind of covers their fee. When we call them in anytime, they can come in and service anything. That's one of my big things.
So that's variable.
Yes.
Okay.
The other thing, if you go down to 2910, outside operating services, last year we had 17,000 in, or 1,700 in there. Well, what I did this year is, they decided to take the Nexel charge for the emergency things that come across on everybody's phone.
Oh, yeah.
If there's an, so I had to put 5,000 into there, and that's for the next day.
Okay.
So last year, they took it out, and we weren't accounted for that before. We weren't budgeted for that, so this year, that's why that went from the 1,700 to the 5,000 there.
You better start advertising that we have that. It's a nice feature. I don't know if a lot of people know
I
about
love
it.
it.
Yeah, I think that's,
I love that
Especially at that
feature.
price, you better tell people.
So that comes out of,
That's coming out of mine,
How did
only
it-
my TV department. What's that?
that's for the entire Nixle program.
Yes.
Comes out of your department.
Yes, yes.
well, keep in mind, we share that with the authority. That's a shared cost with the authority.
Yeah, but I mean,
Why would it come out of-
5,000 is strictly for the municipality,
We
comes
share
out
the
of
cost
mine.
with my, I don't know what they, we may pay 5.
Well, I would think that'd be more of an IT expenditure more so than a TV 15 expenditure.
Could be.
Yeah,
it
it
could
is
be.
true. It should be IT.
But
But once again, the
As long as
money's
we
the
know
money,
where it's
but
at.
No, it
It's
shouldn't.
just where you, why? It comes across your phone.
Has to do with
It's entertainment.
and just so everyone knows, it's
Joe,
the
I'd like
alerts.
pictures with mine then, if
Yeah,
that's come
Nixle-
through the TV part.
Nixle are the text
If I can
alerts that you
throw
can
it up.
sign up for.
Right.
For road closures, emergencies.
Anything. The other day, even, I don't know why, but I got something for Plum Boroughs.
Me
I get
too.
plum.
so did
I
I.
Yeah,
don't
we
know
got the
why
trick or
from
treat.
Monroeville
Yeah.
we're getting Plum Boroughs
Yeah.
Well, I forget
Halloween.
I forget how you do that.
I got it too.
You text your zip code to, what was the number you texted to, Joe?
Well,
Do
if you
know?
go, if everyone
No,
goes.
I'm not familiar with it. I know our,
88877 something comes up.
It's,
yeah.
yeah, it's something like that.
Just so everyone knows, if you go to the Monroeville,
Yeah.
the municipal website,
Plum
at the
Tree.
bottom, there's a link to this. It explains it all.
Tina
There's a
left.
certain number you'll text your zip code to, and then you'll start getting the alerts for that area. So I think what Nixle does, I think Nixle will even give you some surrounding areas as well.
right.
And you could even, if you really wanted
And it's
to.
controlled, a lot of it through our dispatch center does it. When they know that something's going to happen, an accident or a road closed or something, they do it right from the dispatch. And I know Tina can also put
It's a great
things on,
program,
too,
but
so-
well, once again, it's at the bottom of our, it's right on the main homepage of the municipal website, monroeville.pa.us. You text your zip code to the number 888-777.
Yes.
And then you'll be opted in, and then you can opt out at any time, but it's a way for people to be informed. But getting back to it, though, I mean, I guess it's a question for council. I don't know if that's necessarily should be coming out of TV 15's budget. I think that's more of a website, IT program, but that's,
I mean, if we want to
Something we
split
can
it
talk
with other departments, I'm
sure you'd
great
be
with
happy with
that.
that.
Joe wouldn't care about that
I'm
at all.
All right.
right
Anyway,
down,
well,
right
It's
for
in,
that.
whatever it is, it's in the budget. It's a great
in the budget,
tool.
but anyway,
It's good
Joe,
for
sorry.
the community.
Go on.
No, I appreciate
I don't
say
care
something.
where it's
I
at.
have a
Thank you.
question for you, Joe.
Yes.
You really gonna make it through the year on $700 in gas and oil?
That's what I was just going to tell you, Ron. I was just going to say that. We've, we averaged it out. I'm not spending $2,000 a year, but if gas goes up 700, it's kind of close. I don't know if it's set in stone that we got to stick with the 700, but
Move $1,000 for the Nextel to IT, and then we can make that 1,700.
we'll next still
idea.
take the. no.
Then we'll move it to Tina's. She left. She won't.
yeah, she's not here to defend herself,
She
so.
left. She won't know.
I
One
mean,
of
you
the-
still get called out to fire department calls and police department calls,
Yes,
right?
yes.
I don't think,
It seems low to me.
Yeah.
It seems
I
low to
agree.
me.
So what was your, I guess your,
I was, last year it was 2,000, so we went from 2,000 to 700, so. you
yeah, but
know,
look at your 2016 actual, which was like $1,200.
Right.
Your 2015 actual was about $3,600.
yeah, that seems to be an outlier there. I don't know what that is.
Right, but then
Well,
2014 was
there, I can
1,900.
explain some of that back then. They were taking a portion of
I agree.
Public Works diesel. We were splitting different costs back in the day. I think when like Susan was here, they were taking a percentage out of my department to also offset the diesel costs. And Mr. Wilson had brought that up a couple years ago,
Good
and
old
I think
Susan.
that's why it kind of went a little bit the other way. I'm not paying pretty much any of that. They're not taking out for diesel costs anymore.
Gotcha.
I guess that's pretty high between the fire trucks and everything that's diesel. The only other thing was the radio communications. That went down to $1,800. My concern is going to $1,800 is if we do, the police change bands and they get into new radios, we're not going to, for $1,800, we can't even buy one radio, not even a portable.
Well, we're going to have
You
to
know.
put that
So
into
that's one of the
consideration when we
things
do
that
that.
got me concerned, but then we thought, we don't know when that's going to happen. It's not
Well-
like saying, you know, is
Well, if
it,
that does, when it happens,
we're going to
Maybe
put
we
that,
could-
we will put that
I
into
think we just kind
consideration
of-
to roll that into
The same
cost
budget.
when we
Exactly.
get that whole budget
Pardon
put
me?
together.
I'm sorry, Linda. Go
No, I didn't know that
She
there
gets
was
on a
more
roll.
costs involved from his
I mean,
department.
I was just explaining why it went from, I always put that buffer in there of the 5,000, because I knew just like one portable radio is like 5,000.
Yeah,
So I
I'm
thought,
just saying, I don't think it would be a big deal to add a radio to the
to the
master
projection.
purchase.
No,
Yeah, I talked
Yeah,
to
that
Doug
makes
about
sense.
that, and that's,
so it would just be in another budget,
right.
another budget
it has to be in a
department.
different budget line item, not in yours right now.
We'll get you a radio, is
okay,
what we're saying.
all right.
We'll get.
Well, that's
Thank you, Nick.
basically, I know we have a long night, so basically, that's all I have. I was surprised Paul
Well
didn't
done,
get on
buddy.
me about the microphones, but
Shouldn't have reminded him.
I was waiting for
You
that one.
did. You were coming up in the elevator.
Yeah,
We
he
were
did.
talking
did he?
about
Don't
you while
touch
you
the-
were-
Because I was
did.
going to tell him, I was going to say, you just can't let that go, you know?
So Joe, just real quick, if you could,
Yes.
the revenue side, if you could explain very briefly, because I know you get money, or your department gets money from
Well,
Comcast
yeah,
and
the
Verizon?
way our department is funded, Verizon pays 5% and Comcast pays 5%.
that comes off of the residents.
Right.
little bit of tax
Whenever
portion
you
they
see
pay.
your bill, it'll have a franchise fee of like a couple bucks or
Mm-hmm.
something, but that's what funds this department. I pay another full-time employee, and I have 4 part-timers that work the cameras for me. That's how their salaries are paid, and we get out of the percentage that we get, we operate on 2.5 out of all the franchise fees. That's all that is put into my, more or less, what I
It comes to the
operate.
municipality, and then you get a
Then
portion of
the
that.
municipality funds me 2.5
Okay.
of the franchise fees, yes.
Very good.
Okay?
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Any other
All right,
questions for
no
Joe?
problem. No problem. Any other questions? Anything about,
Do you need a water or
Well-
anything before you have to run back downstairs?
no,
Okay.
as far as the goals go, one of the things I was planning to do was try to update the bulletin board this year. I don't know what's out there. We did get a price on what it would cost, and it was a little bit over $7,000 to upgrade from what we have right now. However, I'm not 100% sure. My goal is to do something with the bulletin board, but I don't know if that's going to be what we're looking for. So that's kind of, I still put the money in for it. If we don't use it, then, you know, we can figure some other place for that.
That's 5310, right?
You know what, Tim, I got to look on this other thing. It was one of the higher,
Is that under cable TV
Next to,
equipment?
yeah, next to the last line item.
Cable TV equipment?
yeah, that's what it would be, under that, where that 9,000 was.
You're saying 7,000 of that would possibly be for,
Exact price I got to replace the digital signage bulletin board is $7,130. I kind of like what we have. If we can just do the software, we could save a lot more money by doing maybe a software upgrade to what we have. With this device too, this is only for one station now. The way we have it now is JB has one at his desk that he can upgrade. I can upgrade also. With the one we have now, I can put something on the bulletin board. Let's say there's a road closed or something. I can run a crawl. I can put it on from home, and with the stuff we have now.
currently,
This one will not, we won't have that capability.
The new
to
one,
do.
you cannot?
Yes.
Oh.
You almost have to be stationed right at it, so whatever desk it would be, it's not going to be a mobile thing.
So that's about, well, you said $7,000.
I got the price of, I had a quote on it, was $7,130 for that.
what would be a software upgrade of the
Well,
current?
if I was to upgrade what we have now, one device to do that would be like $4,000. So, I think this $7,000, I don't think I really want to go that way. That's what they priced out, but I would rather stick with what we have and maybe get the software upgrade with another device for about $4,000. And that would still give us each, we would be able to from our own desk, we'd be able to upgrade it, and then I could also go online and change the stuff.
So you
from
could
home.
you could still mobile upgrade?
Yeah, with-
I like that. I would
I
hate to
do
give that
too,
up.
but,
That doesn't make
you know,
sense to pay money and lose a good feature.
Yeah, sometimes upgrading
Isn't always the way to go.
right.
Were you having any
Yeah.
problems with your current one as is?
No, but the only thing is, it is old. It's probably about 10 years old, and if something would go out on it, I don't think there's going to be much support on that particular. Whereas if I would upgrade it or update it with maybe like 4,000, then we would also get it would carry over to give me
The ongoing support?
support for
Yeah.
a couple
Okay.
more years.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well, I mean, you have sufficient funds in there to do that.
Yes, he said he
Okay,
did.
all right, okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm trying to say is, instead of spending the 7,000, I would rather spend 4,000 and be using something that we're used to and that works for us. It works well for us. And we actually have more flexibility with what we have now than we would with the 7,000.
Well, those specifics you probably work out with Tim.
Yeah,
Moving forward.
but the reason I did that was because what we have is there's no support now.
Gotcha.
So I just was planning to do that in the future. One thing I did want to make people aware of, I've been running a crawl. If somebody wants to watch a meeting now at any time online, we have a YouTube channel that they can watch it. So if they don't have cable TV, I know they're not here hearing it, but if the word would get out there, we do have, now every meeting is gavel to gavel, so there's nothing cut, nothing edited. So it's original, what you're seeing tonight will be on YouTube tomorrow.
And what is
Okay.
it, how do they find that?
They just go on YouTube and it's monroeville.pa.us.
Perfect.
You recall, we had a resident that was required.
Right, and we
Yes.
had the channel, but we had to make sure all the bugs were worked out, and right after Mr. Henderson, I think was
That's
the
who it was,
gentleman.
yes, yeah.
We went ahead and the next day, as a matter of
Well, good
fact.
for
so
you. It's
great.
Everything's
Make
been
Thank
on,
you.
this whole year already is already on there.
Good.
Oh,
So-
wonderful, thank you.
And Tina helps us with that. We bring a DVD up to her and she gets it downloaded, so that is available to the residents.
We'll have to talk to, Tim, if you could talk to Tina, if we can work that onto our website, so
Yeah,
residents can click
I was
on
thinking the
meetings,
same.
past
Yeah,
meetings, it'll take them
you're
straight to
right.
the YouTube page.
Right, right.
And then they can watch any meeting that they would like to.
Great,
So, okay.
great, great,
Any other
Very good.
great
questions?
upgrade.
No, Great
All
job.
right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, everyone, hold on. Paul, don't touch your microphone.
Sharon, you okay?
Okay, seriously, you just.
Okay, well, and now Josie Rock?
Yep.
In finance, please. Josie, if you want to stay there.
I
She
will
said after
stay
Joe.
here.
There you go.
If they can get a camera on you.
We gotta wait
Well,
for
we gotta wait
Joe.
for Joe now.
Okay.
Move out of harm's way.
Really? But what does this pink stuff?
Page are you on there, Joe?
Yeah, Josie, what page are you on for your expenditures? What page would
Well,
that
I was gonna,
be? Or do you want to,
go to revenues also, so if you want,
where do you want to start?
page 26 in the revenues. Okay.
Wait a sec.
Who do you think? Come on, hold on. Page are we on?
26 in the revenues.
There's
I'm up.
finance at the top of the page. And
I'm with you.
those are monies that have been allocated to finance way before my time. But I just wanted to make a comment on those, that they're predominantly shared state revenues that we absolutely have no control over. It's just whatever the state decides they're going to allocate. And they have, for example, state aid is based on your road mileage, road miles and so forth that's within your municipality. But they're not like arbitrary. There's always, a method to the state's madness to allocate that money. So that being said, what I've been trying to do since I arrived is look at ways to perhaps increase our idle cash, and Tim and I are continuing to look at different ways that we can park some cash that we're not using and earn a little more money on it than what we have in the past. So that's it for revenues, because there's not much there and we have no control over it. So if you want to go to expenditures on page 21, of the finance budget for expenditures, we have a total of $704,885. 78% of that is wages and benefits, and that's for including myself and 4 employees, full-time employees.
That's five.
Any retiree
Is that 5?
employees?
Yeah, but that's on a different line item.
Okay.
That, but yes, retirees are included in that. If you look at the OPEB required contribution, that's $53,000. That's what we're expecting for retiree health care in the finance. So, given those percentages, about 15% is partially within my control. And what I would like to do in 18 is try and negotiate a lower rate for our audit fees. With my background, I should be able to provide them with necessary work papers that they need, detailing various accounts and how we arrive at them. Then they can test them and won't have to do the actual legwork of pulling that together. And
That's a pretty high number.
Darn tootin'.
The
You
bank
like it.
fee auditors?
yes, that's what it is.
That's a really high number.
Yeah, for 56.5 was,
Yeah.
yeah. And apparently there was some, if you look at 15 and 16, there was maybe some consulting and maybe consulting that was in there. I don't know. But
Right.
it was extra work that they had to do. In addition to lowering the fees with the audit, I plan on, or I have started, making sure I have analysis on all the balance sheet accounts, and making sure I make a lot of the entries that the auditors maybe made last year that they won't have to make this year. That's another
To
time
cut down the
concern.
cost.
So basically, I'm
great.
looking through, with the staff and kind of internal auditing and say, oh, this is wrong, let's correct it now.
Perfect. Great. Thank you for that.
Yep, and maybe to help Ms. Walsh understand, also with the RTK position, we find that finance is responsible for maintaining the front desk, and there's certain times, it's kind of sporadical depending on whether people are gone, then we have somewhat of a difficult time filling in for lunch times and maybe throughout the day, when our front desk person is off. And so we were kind of hoping to piggyback on that right-to-know officer, and so that right-to-know officer isn't going to be solely doing right-to-know. Part of their function will also be to be a rover position. So if any of the administrative departments need assistance, kind of like we do in the summertime, we get the students to come in
Summer
and help
help.
us.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times during the winter, you might need that help too. So that person isn't just going to be for right to know. Well, it's semantics, but anyways, moving on to the outlook for the future of the finance. I've talked with Tim about assisting him in implementing a capital improvement program. We also have talked about transparency, maybe with some of the finance numbers, graphs and so forth. We're hoping to be able to put up on the website, maybe not Facebook. And we've begun a process of trying to streamline the reporting and operations of the finance office, kind of using more spreadsheets to make the routine procedures a little less cumbersome and, less time consuming, looking for redundancies in the work and ways that we can just basically, make improvements. Also considering ways to reduce the paper that's printed monthly, just working towards a greener office for finance. And that's it.
Very good.
Very good.
Thank you.
Josie, I have a question, as we were talking about earlier, about the health insurance and retirees. So if we're looking at the OPEB line item,
Yep,
and then right below it, the hospitalization health insurance.
yep,
So if we subtract the OPEB contribution, the $53,843 from the 149,
yes,
does that give us then
that's the clear,
the active employees?
yes, yes, that's exactly right.
Well, if we're paying, so if say your department, you're paying 149 for health insurance, but then
Right,
you're also contributing 53,000 to OPEB, which should be paying the health insurance of the retirees.
This
So
is a,
that's the part,
this
if
can
you
be,
explain that for us.
it can be a confusing concept. That
Am I gonna?
53,000 is in there
There's one reason why.
to fund the OPEB trust fund, not to pay the current employees. By funding that OPEB trust fund, we get
Maybe it will.
an annual required contribution calculated by the actuaries. And they tell us what we need to pay for that year. So without having those numbers available, we used what we are going to pay currently for retiree health care in 2018, plus that additional 53,000 is sort of funding the future health care, because that's what happens when you are given your required contribution to the trust fund. you're essentially funding future payments, just like a pension plan. When you make your contribution for the year, you're funding your future payments.
Okay. So, but if we go through everybody's department, that's the math that we need to do.
Exactly. That's exact math, yes.
Okay. Any other questions for Josie?
Just one. The last thing on your note says, ensure all debt service payments are made in accordance with their due dates. Have we missed those at times?
No.
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 Just a comment. then.
I'm not,
You're not insinuating we missed them. You're just saying make sure we don't.
correct.
Okay.
Correct. No, we haven't missed any. No.
Okay.
Okay, that's what we were making sure.
So your commenter is just making sure that we don't ever miss one.
That's just part of what finance does.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr.
Just
Jones?
like part of what finance does is make sure you reconcile your bank account every month so you're not overdrawn or, yeah.
I get it.
That's all I'm saying. That's all
Okay.
we're saying by that.
Mr. Johnson?
My only question was right underneath the hospitalization, the employee pension insurance, you reduced that by approximately $27,000.
2409.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly why that is. I
Okay,
can
I
get
was just
back to you.
curious, I just looked at the
Yeah.
number, that's,
But the actual is only $40 to date.
Something's wrong.
yeah, that's just didn't,
Yeah, that's paid. Obviously, we have all the MMOs paid on that.
Right.
For some reason, that's not recorded in there.
Yeah, I'm not sure why.
it's okay, I'm just curious.
I mean, I'll get back to you.
Okay, very good. Any other questions for Josie?
I just had a comment about, when I talk next week on my budget about different things that I want to do, not that the expenses will be all in my budget, but, and Josie touched on one of them, and it does have to do with Ms. Walsh and what Alyssa mentioned about transparency. You can go online and you can look at our budget. It's about 150 pages long. Okay, I don't think too many people do that. A few do, and that's good. However, I think what the majority of the public wants to see, as Josie just mentioned, is to have snapshots of the budget at different times during the year, and maybe even every month, bar charts. One picture's worth 1,000 words, as they say. And this is something that I'm aspiring to, so somebody can go on our website and they can see where we've been and where we're going on an overall picture of the municipality's finances. And that gives a lot more transparency in an overview, instead of delving into 149 pages of the budget. Not everybody has the time to do that, but they do want to know where the revenue comes in and where the expenses go out. One of the things that I'm looking to do is get us a mobile app, is what I want to do in 2018, is to get a mobile app so people can download a mobile app, they can, register a complaint, they can look at different things, just like everybody here has downloaded apps. I think we need that for a community this size. Those are just some of the things that I'd like to do in 18. Even further out, talking about transparency and talking about right to know. What a lot of communities are doing across the country in order to make things more transparent and making it easier as far as the right to know request. And I think, Ms. Walsh, you touched on this, about going on the website, and if you want to know something, virtually anything, it's on the website. And that takes time. Right now, we just got, and Tina talked about this, we just got a module where we're going to barcode all our invoices, and that's just a start. Now, one of the problems with that is, more so with the police department, because there's a lot of sensitive information and also the personnel information, Social Security numbers and things of that nature. You can't let that get on the website, obviously. But more so with police investigations, there has to be more scrutiny of what goes on to the website. But that's something that's further into the future that I'd like to see, which, and is, to touch on your point, Ms. Walsh, is that maybe you don't have to do an RTK. You can just go on a website and get it.
Very good. Yes, and with that, we're going to take just a 5-minute break, very quick recess to give our stenographer a break and to reload, and we'll be right back here in 5 minutes.
It's a Tina's chair.
We'll ride along.
All right, folks, welcome back. We're going to come back in from recess for this meeting, budget hearing of 2018, our first one. Going straight back into our department heads and departments, we have Paul Estock and Joanne Morris from Parks and Recreation.
Could we get your hand out, please?
So the floor is yours, Joanne.
About that.
Joanne, what page are you guys on?
Well, I was looking at 3,300, starting in revenue with the community
No,
park.
what page?
27.
In revenue?
That's revenue,
Yes.
27.
Oh, revenue.
And really, we don't have a lot there other than our picnic pavilions. I wanted to mention to you that for 2017, we have held 525 picnics. We've had that many pavilions rented for the course of the year. And already for this year, we have 100 pavilions rented.
For next year, yeah.
So the residents know you're able to reserve a pavilion a year in advance to the date. So if you wanted to have a picnic on November 2nd of next year, you could have came in today and reserved it. With that said, though, we only reserve our pavilions from basically May 1st till the middle of October because of them, shutting the water down for the winter.
There goes the Christmas party.
Sorry, guys.
Son of.
Yeah, but she's correct. We don't, Mike will be coming up shortly to talk to you about the expenditure side. We don't do anything with the expenditures. Under the revenue side, though, you're going to see probably a pretty good increase because of the things we have going at the community park with the new, the ball fields and everything being put in too, with the help of a grant and Monroeville, Visitors Monroeville, they helped us out, put those ball fields in this past year, which is it's going to be a great asset for us.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Are
And
we
also
bringing money in from the,
we will start, yeah.
That's
'cause
good. Is that not
this
showing
year really,
yet?
No, the reason why this year, we really didn't have anything because of the delay of the construction and all that getting going.
right,
And unfortunately, we dealt with a lot of rain, really didn't have many tournaments up. We didn't have much going on up there at all. But the gentleman who is helping us is wonderful to work with, and we're working with him closely to add some amenities and stuff up there. As long as with baseball and with soccer, they continue to provide us with funds to offset costs so that we don't have to put into our budget. Because of the new ball fields up there, just to give you real quick, there's mounds that go on there. Well, baseball recently bought mounds, but with the new fields, those mounds you can no longer use up there. So they had to go out and there was an expense of $6,000 that Monroeville Baseball went ahead and used and did on their own and took care of that for us. And that helps with everybody. It's just for everybody to use. Also, too, we have some issues up there because of the age of the lights and stuff like that. It's becoming a safety issue. We have to replace lights and stuff like that, and bulbs and capacitors, and the community park guys can't say enough about them with that park, what they do up there. It's amazing. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So there's more added expenses that, again, they will help out with. Monroeville Soccer had an added expense this past year. If you guys remember, we completely redid Field 14, resurfaced it, resodded it and everything. They, again, Visitors Monroeville helped us out with a big portion of it. It was like $20,000. Monroeville Soccer paid $6,600 this year for that. And they're going to be helping us with reseeding and all the stuff like that. So they're always helping us. So we have a $10,000 number. They get to that number if they don't exceed it. So they do help us.
Maybe you said it, but
I'm sorry.
what happened with the security deposits?
Security, that's something we have to sit down with Tina.
Yeah.
We're kind of flux with this because this always seems to be an issue with regards to the community park. And you're right, Ron, and you'll see this in 4600. We bring all the money in under one, and then it leaves another one. It leaves under 4700, I believe it is.
Because we
So-
actually cash your security deposit.
Right, so we
but then you
take
have
it
to send it
in.
back out.
Exactly.
Right.
After the picnic, as long as everything has been cleaned up,
Right.
we've had no
Right.
damage to the park,
Is that
and
why
they
the
get it
budget
back.
figure is zero?
Yeah, that's what we're figuring. That's what we just, I
Yeah.
just seen that. Yeah, that's what we're thinking. Good. We have to look at that because you'll even see in our 4600, we just talked about this. It's like
Today.
56,000. We only actually bring in a revenue about 30,000 because the other balance of that goes back out. You know what I mean? So that's.
Well, I
what-
see it in the bills.
Yeah, right. It goes out a lot. So we take in $80 is the deposit, $100 pavilion. That's just the smaller ones. So you got to realize we take in 100, but the 180, but 80 of it goes back out. So after the fact. So that's kind of a
The
logistics thing we have
security
to figure out.
deposit is to make sure they clean up. And
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Exactly.
no
Yes, sir.
damage.
Yes, sir. Yep,
Exactly.
yep.
Some other things at the community park at the amphitheater. This actually was our 10th anniversary year. We had 6 concerts as well as Shakespeare did a play there. Overall, between all the activities, probably about 5,000 people enjoyed these free amenities. All with the courtesy basically of UPMC, their continual support. They give us a grant every year. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to afford this, but it's been a wonderful thing. This year, right now, I'm working with Johnny a little bit. People have mentioned to me before, what about seating up close and personal for the Shakespeare play, even the Jazz Festival? So we are working on creating down kind of where, not on the stage, but where like the chips are, putting some benches. We're looking at like 16 of them, kind of an outdoorish kind of fitting in situation, which I'm going to pay out of special events about $3,000. So I'm hopefully going to definitely get them purchased this year, maybe not installed till early next spring.
Can't you use all the railroad ties you guys are ripping out of the trail?
Well,
It was a joke. It was a joke.
I know. I do think it'll add something to, the amphitheater, the all-around experience, so I think it'll be a good thing.
What's happened with the buying of bricks or
Monroeville Foundation.
pavilions?
Yeah. That's why Monroeville Foundation's really been stepping up, trying to help get more people known about, because there is a flyer, I believe, right, a pamphlet out there, if you wanted to get a brick, or, because somebody actually got a pavilion this year, did a pavilion, we got some benches and stuff like that, we're continuing to try and find ways to get revenue in, and with Monroeville Foundation, this is probably the most we've dealt with them over the last few years. I mean,
And
it's
that
been
revenue
great.
comes in to where, Tim?
Comes into Park and Rec.
Into Park and Rec, okay.
Yeah.
And how much do we do we reach out to the Boy Scouts, Girl Scout troops, or do they have to come to us? Because I know that's always been a great help for the Park and Rec Department
They've
as
been
far as
wonderful
doing
this
stuff
year.
around the parks.
I mean, yeah, they're constantly doing Eagle Scout projects and,
Yeah.
and different things. I mean, they just did that Eagle Scout project, which Tim will do next Thursday, down there, the kiosk, and some different things they did down there. I mean, they're just,
So we got to be very grateful to
Well,
them.
oh, they are.
Not
without-
only
yeah.
even the scouts, the high school. Mr. Whelan with Interact and things, they always have volunteers for my special events. Last weekend, we had Trail of Treats in the rain in 40 degrees.
Oh, I saw that, yes.
And we still had 3 groups from the high school come and put booths up.
Oh.
So they're always there to help with different things, so we're very fortunate.
Okay.
And just to finalize the community park with regards to the soccer field, the tennis courts and basketball courts, we are working towards that. We just had a meeting recently, Tim, myself, Jamie, Paul, and Mike. We're getting there. It's a process, but I'm hoping for another grant to come out. I'm hoping. I don't know. Me and Jamie are fighting over the same grant, same money, but we're going to see what happens if we can get some additional money. But we do have $100,000 to contribute towards it. The overall project's about $350,000 to get those courts back up and running. We have a plan. We're going to see what we can do.
But it needs to be fixed. I mean,
It absolutely,
we're
it
gonna-
has
we'll
to be
committed
done.
fixing
Yeah,
And
we're
that.
committed.
we're committed to doing it. It's just, it's a pretty added expense.
And I believe that we finally got the quote back as far as milling the surface
Yes, sir.
up.
Yes,
And that'll
sir.
hopefully be happening.
Well, again,
Soon.
weather permitting, and then, again, so you don't shoot me in the back of the head, it's gonna come back to Mike and the guys to do a lot of their work as far as
Mike, sit
drainage and stuff like that. So we're hoping, that we can at least get that process there. There's a difference of opinions, whether to leave it exposed or not, so we're working through it. We know it needs to get done. I think we all see it, and we'd like to get it done as quickly as possible, so it's gonna get done, so.
18, 19?
Part of this year and into next year,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's gonna be, I don't know if you want to elaborate
17
on
and
it.
18 or 18?
Well, I
17,
told
18.
them that
17, 18.
we're putting
okay.
this in,
Yes, ma'am.
and Paul Hugus is be up next, and he can talk about it a little bit. We are going to shoot for getting the road program bidded out and ready to fly May 1st. Now, if we can do that, remains to be seen. But what I don't want to happen is, and I told the department, Jamie and Paul and Mike, I don't want people complaining next summer, why aren't these courts done? I want them done, and I think you want them done, the public wants them done. I've received some comments here and there throughout the summer, well, what's going on with the courts? And so I want them done by Memorial Day or right around there, Paul's looking at me.
So we're working
on the
through
clock.
that. Yeah, we're on that, so.
I told Paul to get a rake and a shovel and put in his car.
So, that has to
budget
be
for
done,
that.
yeah, so.
Because I know we're going to get a lot of comments right at this podium.
We
Those
have been
things
getting
aren't
calls,
done.
you've been getting calls, and
The asphalt plant's even open?
Well, I mean, if they want to
No,
mill
we
it,
can't.
mill it.
We're gonna do the
sorry,
milling part.
We're milling it
Not
now.
paved till next
yeah.
year.
Yeah,
You're not paid till next year,
paved till
so.
next year.
But
It'll be
in
part of
between the
road
milling
program.
and the paving, it's gonna fall on Mike and the crew to get a bunch of their stuff done as far as drainage and stuff like that
Yeah.
goes. So I'm sure he's giving the evil eye, but that's what's gonna happen. Going to, so get out of there, go to 4,500, which is page 81. Expenditures, you can see that we really haven't made no changes whatsoever.
The only thing we increased was postage. I had read in the newspaper there was a talk of the postage going up 3%. So I just wanted to put in there, in case it does happen, if it doesn't go up, the money will just stay.
A couple of our things went down. I think longevity pay went down because our old receptionist, she left, and so we have somebody new. So I think, that went down, but I think we're actually below from last year, so we're doing okay there.
Now, is the postage just for
The brochure,
the brochure?
yes.
Is that the only cost for the brochure?
Well, we also have the printing for it, so it comes out of 2 line items there. It comes out of,
3102 is the magazines, and then your postage is 2203. So 2203 first, Nick, and then down at the bottom there, see 3102 for $18,000.
Gotcha. And then also too, out of the postage up top, that's not just, that's also the other correspondence you do, like,
I don't know how they do that upstairs. I think they split things between us. I just don't really.
I think
'cause
that
they-
falls underneath our,
like whenever you guys send out
Like letters or.
letters for, I know there's some Christmas time things that go out,
Right, right.
would that come out of that postage? or-
no,
I
it comes
don't
out of a
think.
different line item. It comes out of, I'm looking here, they break it out like with a telephone and telegraph, office equipment repair and maintenance. I think it comes out of those different areas there.
So if we add the magazine line item
And-
and the postage, that would give you the complete
Yes.
brochure price?
Yes, and it
Okay.
goes out
That is
4 times.
complete.
I gotcha, okay.
Goes out, if I can just put a pitch in here too. The winter brochure is at the printers. It should be in homes by Thanksgiving week. So, and letters to Santa. If you have a child that would like to write Santa a letter, we'll have a huge mailbox outside here as well as one at the Monroeville Library. They can write their letter. Mom and Dad needs to make sure that they include their address so that when Santa sends a letter back, it gets to them.
Perfect.
Very good. So really, we just reimburse Santa Claus for the postage?
Exactly.
Got it. Just to be
Exactly.
clear.
You got it.
Okay.
Go into, have any questions under 45? 4,600, you can go, look at that, and that's just a bunch of things. As far as the salaries goes, that number up to the salaries there takes care of the amphitheater gentleman, and also that was a part of the park leader program. That's where the money came out of that line item, 25,000.
And I also run Camp Chippewa out of 4,600. That's our special needs camp. It runs 6 weeks during the summertime. It has been growing. With this summer, we had like 100 participants over the 6-week course.
Is
So
the grant money expenditures to match money?
Yeah, that's weird. Josie and I were just talking about, that's kind of why that's out of whack there. You can see that this year we put in 39,000, we put in 65,000. You can see what's came out so far, which is 39,000. We're still waiting for 2 more checks because we have a couple payroll out of the state. We're actually waiting. I think that number will pretty much will wash itself out. I don't know if you want to add something to that.
Yeah, I think it would. And I'm not certain right now, we're not putting the grant money received in there. We are.
Yeah. We're just trying to figure out, does it make sense to be there or not?
Yeah.
So right now, it looks like an expense, but
But the money comes, yeah, we
Right.
actually get it back in and it reimburses it, yeah. So hopefully when it's all said and done, it washes itself out.
Yeah, so
I think-
you have some revenue in that line item, and that's one of the things that I want to be changing going forward, is when you get your grant revenue, it's actually up in your revenue. Because if you look back on the revenues we just talked about, there's and
Yep.
what you were talking about, there's negative amounts.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I'd like it to all be in the same section,
Same spot.
and that
Okay.
your bottom line's gonna be the same.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Well, not only me getting grants in, Paul gets them in, or, whoever gets them, we just got that.
It'll just be easier to understand.
Yeah, right.
We just got one for $50,000 for that transportation
The
one,
tran-
but I
yeah,
just got
right.
that.
Well, because right now, it looks
Active
like
Allegheny.
the grants
Right.
are an expense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
What
right.
transportation ones?
The one I just received.
The Active Allegheny, $50,000 for Active Allegheny, laying out a plan we're going to couple with Wilkins, because Wilkins is doing it right now. They're probably on the tail end of it right now with respect to laying out kind of a plan for bicycles on the street paths, not trails. It's not, that doesn't have anything to do with it. So it's kind of a not a multimodal, but a different means of transportation, bike, walkability, mostly bike and walkability.
Okay, that's not in the comprehensive thing that we're working with them on?
No, that's in addition to that.
Okay.
That's in
Yeah.
addition to that.
We just received that about a month ago, I think.
No, we just received, I just got the contract about 7, 8, 9 days ago.
Yeah, so
And,
that was good, so something we applied for.
So the comprehensive plan touches on that.
Right.
Yeah,
There's
but
a
it's,
This
yeah.
is
big
just a
component,
further, yeah.
big component of that in the comprehensive plan, but this is actually something extra, which is fantastic.
I think we have a slight match on that, right? I think it's 15%, Tim, I think, 15% match on that, I think.
I think it may. I
It's
think it may
it's a
be, yeah.
small amount.
That's
so
a
the-
small match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then underneath there to finish it up on a 4600 is a trail. I mean, if you haven't been there, please do. Again, that's what that grant money is underneath there. We're going to be we're closing out that grant, and that trail's up and running, so hopefully we can enjoy it. 4700, again, you can see we're pretty much the same. We haven't changed anything at all. There's not really much to talk about there as far as,
My camps come out of 4,700. This summer, they ran for 9 weeks, 375 participants. They continue to grow. A few years back, I started an option 2 that when I had an overflow on field trip days, we would send them to the pool. This summer, some weeks, I've almost had a full camp staying on the overflow day at the pool. So it's been a great thing to have the pool to utilize also to make this program grow.
And to be clear, there's also revenue coming in.
Exactly.
People pay
Exactly.
to have their kids in these camps, so
Yeah.
even though there's expenditure here, there is revenue being generated and being
Most
offset.
definitely.
Most
yeah.
definitely.
Do you
And
feel
I-
that has gone up since we've alleviated a lot of the park attendance? That now people are
Probably.
signing up for programming?
I mean, people are looking for places for their children to be during the day when they're at work.
There's definitely a void in the
Yeah.
community for these things.
Yeah.
basketball is just a number, again, that's a number you can see, though. You have to pay for referees, uniforms, everything like that. All of our costs, though, we charge 75 per kid. We're good. We're right there.
So that washes out as well?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, everything that we do, any program we ever do, we're not in here to generate, obviously revenue, or cover our costs and stuff like that.
20% we try to charge, for a
Above.
contractor.
About $10 per person we get off of a class, so, it works out, so.
What's consultants?
Those are like my instructors that we pay the 80% and we
Okay,
keep the
okay,
20%.
gotcha.
That's where those fees come out.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. And then finally, 4,900, again, is the pool. We haven't really, again, that's not changing too much. The pool continues to get old. The pool continues to have issues. I mean, this year we had a leak in the baby pool. A couple different things have happened, that we can't control. Johnny and Joey and Float, them guys are down there every day, every morning, checking on things, and they do a great job. I can't thank them enough for everything they do. They find ways to patch it, find ways to get it done, just to get it by for another year.
No, we shouldn't have to do,
it's
that's
a
our
service.
public works guys.
Yeah.
So that people don't wonder who's Johnny.
I'm sorry, I apologize,
That was said before, and they're
yeah.
gonna be like, I don't know who that Johnny
Yeah,
is, but I
the
need him at
public's
my
working.
house.
Yeah, without them, we couldn't do a lot of things that we do. I mean,
Yes.
they do a great job, and so the expenses, it was a great year, they think, because of the weather, but the weather also hampered us a lot too, so,
Yeah.
so.
But it helps my camps grow as well, though, having it there.
Yes, absolutely.
So.
And that's it. I mean, if you have any other questions from us, we did in the, what you'll see in the fee schedule, we did increase some pricing on the different things, which will help increase our revenue. Those are on pages 19, 20, and so forth. So we did do some increase in revenue ideas. Joanne increased her camps.
Yeah, nothing drastic,
Nothing,
you
right.
know.
A little bit at a time, though,
Right,
instead of hitting
right.
it all at once.
Yep,
Good job.
is that it?
Good job.
Thank you, guys.
Very good.
You both.
Good job.
All right,
Thank you. Good job.
Okay, Mike Adams from Public Works.
I've been waiting all night for you to get over.
Oh, my.
Sarah, you need a break?
Yeah.
Well, this will go pretty quick.
Yeah.
What page are you on,
Tell us
Mike?
the page.
for your,
55, under Superintendent of Public Works.
Very good.
We have a total of 45 employees in the Public Works Department, 36 in Public Works, 9 in refuge, and 4 part-timers in refuge. That includes me and the office
I'm
manager.
sorry, repeat that again, I just missed it.
45 total employees and 4 part-time
Got it,
employees.
okay.
Okay, on page 55 is our the superintendent budget, which includes myself and the office manager. Some of the things you're looking at as far as insurance is OPEB, and all we've discussed that with, that's been brought up. Some of these numbers, as far as what they are, don't add up, or it's out of my realm to,
Do
as
anything
far as
with.
putting them in.
It's all personnel mostly.
Right.
Your discretionary income is very, very little there, Mike.
Right. Actually, our first budget line there is 2610 towards the bottom, office equipment and repair, and general office supplies. That's the only thing that's, as far as the gasoline and lubricants, that's all allocated into each department through the gas pump reports. So them numbers are, you know what I mean, they'll allocate based on usage from every department that uses gas, from the municipal authority to the fire departments to public works.
That all comes here.
Yeah, that's divvied
Well, no,
up.
it's not out of the here, but I mean, when you see that, the number for the fuel, gasoline, and lubricants, each budget, each department has its own.
It's calculated by your
Yeah,
usage.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's
We get
done
a
through
gas
the reports.
Yeah, so you don't just make up that number. You're,
No,
that's
because, you know, some
given to you.
of the departments have 6 people, some have 8 people,
Right.
some have 1, and you'll see them numbers.
Right, go,
change.
yeah, okay.
Any questions on?
No.
Okay, next page is 57, our snow and ice control. We kept the same amount of 560 in there. Salt did stay the same price as last year, 69.29 per ton. And fortunately, we've had 2 decent winters where we haven't spent this money.
Yeah.
But some of the money we haven't spent went to a good cause. Last year, we were able to buy a pickup truck with a plow set up. This year, Dawn was in desperate need of a bucket truck. His bucket truck's a 2000, the body is rotting off, and it's,
So your
Pretty
savings from the
upset.
salt paid for those.
yes. Yeah, the savings of salt. That bucket truck was about $120,000.
You stock now?
Yes, we have about 4,500 ton of salt in the dome.
How long does that last?
Huh?
Is it indefinite, like
What?
the salt? I don't know, just, I was
Yeah,
curious.
well, it's
Does
covered.
this last forever?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I mean, if it wasn't covered, it would get lumpy, and you'd have to work on breaking it.
You're still making brine
And we
as
still
well.
have currently left in the budget, we have about $82,000 left.
With the salt, you still making brine for next
Yes,
year?
matter of fact, it was fired up today. I believe Murraysville was interested in buying some.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we're looking at about 82,000 left for this year's budget in the snow removal for salt. And right now, I'm not going to buy any. We'll see what this month and next month go to.
Fingers crossed.
You know, and we have room for money for about 1,200 ton.
Great.
So,
Yeah.
I like
Well,
it.
hopefully we won't have to use too much more this year, but the odds are against us, as I would say.
Yeah, to
Yeah,
keep too
really,
many good years in a
yeah.
row.
Hidden vigorish.
Okay, any questions? Ms. Miller. We did drop the food budget there in that $1,000, you know, compared to last year. That is part of the Public Works contract as far as overtime meals.
Like the 80,000 in overtime, that's the after-hours driving and clearing the roads and
Right.
stuff like that, right?
And most of the time, that's what happened, you know, it's
Or if the
usually.
police call you out for a
Yeah.
situation or something like that.
Well, it's 5 o'clock and beyond is when we're getting our snow falling out in weekends.
Well worth it. People want their roads cleaned when it snows and
Yeah, I
you
mean,
guys are
we
out there
spend a lot of
working.
money on it, but it's a
It's a well worth
safety
every
issue and
penny.
it's, yeah.
Yes,
Well,
Great service.
it's a big deal for
absolutely.
every business in Monroeville
Businesses,
besides
the
our kids
residents,
and our residents. And
Yeah, school
Our
buses.
EMS, everyone.
mean,
Nobody
it-
mess with the snow guys. They do a
Do
great
not,
job.
do not,
Leave them be.
please.
Any other questions on the snow removal?
No,
budget?
sir.
Okay, next page is 59, storm sewer maintenance. We have one employee budgeted in the storm sewer maintenance.
One?
Yes.
One, and he's basically in street maintenance. They're all one group, but he's budgeted out of storm sewer maintenance.
I got it. Okay.
Nothing
But he's
changed.
part of the road crew.
Yes, yes. Okay, if
Nothing
you want-
changed except the health insurance, right?
Huh?
That's what it
Nothing
looks like.
changed except the health
No,
insurance.
no, these budget lines are all the same. If you drop down to 2604, everything is basically the same as far as the budget lines from 2604 down.
Yeah. Okay.
Any questions on storm sewer maintenance?
The
Street
electricity.
lighting, that is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't really come out of my budget. That's through finance, and that's for the red lights and the street lights. Page
that gonna-
63,
Will the lights ever change because of the, we put like different kind of lights in?
LEDs.
They'll eventually,
Yes.
it'll eventually go down. Won't it, Mike?
Oh, yeah.
The cost will
Yeah,
eventually
they've
go
already
down.
went
as well.
down from the traffic lights that are LEDs.
Oh,
I mean,
good.
over the years.
Good, good, good. And as we replace the LEDs on the streets each year,
Oh, sure. Yeah,
We're putting in 100.
Like I said, this number that's in street lighting, the 310,
yeah.
I'll tell you right now what's.
Well, that's like
what's left
Alyssa
in there.
talking about going green, trying to save money in the long
That's a
run. You may
big
pay a
one.
little upfront, but you're gonna save in the long run. I think that's a prime example of one place that we have done exactly what she's asking about. So, Alyssa, if you're listening,
Mike, are all of our streetlights, I don't know if it's maybe you or Mr. Hugus, are all of our streetlights LED now?
No,
The actual
not
traffic
all of
signals?
Oh, the traffic, no, there's,
Traffic signals, most, they're
All
all.
the
yeah,
traffic
there's a
signals are.
couple intersections that
Yeah.
need redone. I think, believe Northern Pike and.
Actually,
Turnpike
we're in
Garden
the process
and-
of replacing the original LED bulbs. They're starting to go bad, so we're replacing those,
oh,
Wow.
that's good.
the first generation ones.
Yeah, the technology only gets better.
And the street lights, we replace about 100 a year. We're on our third cycle.
Didn't we just get a bunch from Duquesne Light?
Yeah,
for-
that's what I said, we replace about 100 a year from Duquesne Light.
But we replace them?
No, Duquesne Light does.
Gotcha.
We give Duquesne Light a list.
I mean, for the right-of-way we gave them.
Yeah, he said we got those. Right, Paul?
I'm sorry?
We did get those for that right away?
Yes.
Yes. Have they been installed?
What are you referring to?
The right-of-way on Cottonwood. Did we
They don't know what they're
work on
talking about.
The right away from Garden City?
Cottonwood down by
On Cottonwood.
Oh, has that been done?
Yeah. Did we get them and have they been?
Oh, yeah,
installed?
yeah, that's all been done. That was through that right-of-way. Yeah, that
Okay.
was through the
So
right-of-way.
they agreed to,
Got that all?
Oh, yeah,
together.
that's
Don't worry
been
about it.
signed,
But
sealed, and
but
delivered.
they've been installed?
That I don't know.
Because I'm not
That I
sure
don't know.
where they're being installed and all of that, because I haven't seen any my way.
they were
Mr.
all
Higgis.
down there, Cottonwood and all that.
The other side of Haymaker, the other side of 22 would like to see some LEDs.
Right.
Mr. Harvey, thank you.
No, I'm just telling you what that deal was.
I know what it was.
Mr. Adams, why don't you continue with
year.
your budget, please?
Let them fight later.
Okay, page 63, street maintenance. Currently,
Where you
there's
got off the
six
subject?
employees out of street maintenance. And these numbers have all stayed the same as last year as far as our operating budget. If you go down to 2613 and below.
Would street sweeping come out of this, Mike?
Yes.
We need to take that street sweep money and put it into new roads.
There's no change.
Well, we actually need a new street sweeper.
Oh,
I mean,
Jesus. Imagine that.
Oh, yeah.
How
I
much are
saw
they?
it one day, that's very true.
That could be about 300,000,
Well,
310,000.
they're not cheap.
Well, we need to start looking at one of those, because I know that street sweeping needs to be done.
That
Yeah.
is very important.
Yeah, we need to start looking at one.
Well, yeah, because
I
all
mean,
the
we
streets are
got
breaking
it
up, and
running,
we can't
but
fix
it's,
any of them.
you
Well,
know,
but you gotta get
Gotta
the
get the big
gravel and
chunks
all that
swept up.
stuff that, like, when we do
You mean a
the,
paver?
no, a street sweeper.
Trying to help.
typically he goes out every spring and
Yeah.
he does the fall, you know, when these leaves are falling. here
Right.
now. He's been out.
Well,
last
in the
couple
gravel and all
weeks,
of that,
but
that's on the
yes,
streets, that, you know, yeah, so it needs to be
road
done.
debris, whatever.
Correct, correct.
Like I said, he makes his rounds at least twice a year. But we've been putting Band-Aids on the current sweeper, trying to give you an age, I believe it's a 2001.
Is there any kind of grant
it's-
money or anything for something like that, Tim?
Yeah, you could get grant money for that. For instance, well, I don't know definitely if with the DEP, like the money we got through the recycling truck, that
Correct.
has not been renewed by the state. It's going to expire, I should say, in 2019, that grant, unless the state legislature renews it. So with what's going on with the budget, I don't know.
Can we keep our eyes open for something like that? Because that sounds like that might be worthwhile to put into for the public works,
Yeah, no problem, yeah.
so.
Well, I got one for you. And it's probably a sore subject but the trees growing over the roads are like getting out of control. It's getting to the point where fire trucks can't get under them.
We'll report them, I mean, this time of the year, you know, once we get our spreaders and trucks ready, we're going to, you know, during the winter months when we're not doing snow removal, that's what we do, we go back and cut right of ways.
So you want me to report
Oh,
the
yeah,
low hanging trees?
oh, yeah.
And then also, if isn't that part of that resident's responsibility?
As far as,
Their
oh,
trees
there's,
should
well,
be,
we do get into something, what Duquesne Lake was doing to clear their lines, you know, our resident, you know,
No,
they don't
I
want
wasn't talking
part of
about
their,
that, but-
part of their tree cut off out of their yard and not the
Travel
other
portion
side.
of the road,
We've run into problems like that, but, you know, when it comes to the residents, we will knock on their door if there's a low-hanging branch that's interfering with trucks.
right.
But I
We've
think
had
it's
that
good, the fire departments would probably know more than almost anybody with the routes that they're traveling throughout Monroeville, all of the fire departments.
Yeah, we've actually
To
cut
keep-
them through Monticello years
Yeah.
ago, just to get it for our salt trucks and the garbage
Right,
trucks
so
to
that
get through.
would, yeah, you guys may be a really good offense to the defense of that.
Tell
So,
them to report it to you.
Okay. Any question on street maintenance?
no, sir.
Okay, next page, 65, park maintenance, 8 employees,
This is all the parks except the community park.
except the community park, all the
Why is that?
residential parks and greenways.
Who does the community part?
There's a crew there.
Oh, I didn't know that. I did know that, yeah.
You knew that.
These numbers also stayed all the same as far as our budget lines from 2606 down to 5301.
There's no change, except for gas.
Yeah, and like I said, that's 8 employees, so,
Everybody's gas.
yeah, like I said,
Yeah.
it gets allocated through usage as far as the reports go.
Right.
Any questions for the park?
None.
Now, how were the summer helps? Did they help out a
I'll
lot for you
tell you
guys
what,
this year?
I mean, we had some great kids this year
Good,
in all departments. Yeah,
Great.
They were a big deal.
I'm
I was
finding
kind of
that
like
everybody's
thinking,
been very
thinking we were
happy.
going to be overwhelmed with too many, but
Yeah.
they helped out a lot.
Good, good, because I would like to make sure that we go ahead and be able to do that again next year, Mr. Little.
I bet you
That-
mine helped the most.
I don't think so.
I'd go-
The occupational vocation rehabilitation, which is part of the Department of Labor, part of those kids, I think.
Yeah, we had, there was run through the state or the county, Tim?
Well, it came through the county, but the money came from the Department of Labor.
There were 4 kids, high school kids, that were run through this department. We also had.
On top of all of the other.
Yeah, on top of all the other ones.
And Tina had a good intern in her department.
Yeah, they had interns.
So I think that
here,
we
but, I mean,
absolutely have to make
Them
sure.
kids were high school kids, and they were
They'll be
with
back.
a couple of our employees.
That program has grown. The first year, 2 years ago, they had 9 municipalities participating in it. This year, they had like 30-some.
Okay.
It's just, I mean, why wouldn't you take it? I
Well,
mean,
and also, I think that we have upped our game by how many
Yeah.
local
Yeah, and that made a big
residents.
deal, you know, raising the rate to $10.
Right,
from
and I think
$8.
that's helped, and I think it's a good thing for the kids, the younger people to have somewhere to go and make some money in the summertime,
Yeah.
and they're a big help to the whole
Yeah,
municipality.
and we had some repeat employees come back, and they basically know the system as
Right.
far as.
Good, so I
you know.
just want to make sure we have the money in the budget, that we're going to do that again, Tim, with 3 per council person.
Oh, that goes
Yeah,
without
that-
saying. I'm talking about what we get for free through
I
the
agree,
OVR.
I agree, but
OVR program.
we went from
I
one
agree
to.
with you 100%, Linda. I'd like to, somewhere down the highway, in the very near future, find 3 full-time plus those
Yeah.
for this guy.
Well, aren't you retired? Okay, just making sure, Mike, because I think it's a good thing, and I
Yeah,
think
no,
they
we
really
did,
do
we
help
had
you
some
guys
good
out
kids
and
this year, like I
here
said, and
and,
they were responsible.
Great.
And they also had fun, you know, they
Yeah.
liked working with the guys.
Right, and
Anytime
they
you could
learn.
work hard and have fun, that's a
yeah,
good
that's
thing.
good, right, thank you.
Okay, the next page is 67, traffic signals, signs, and markings. There's 4 employees in that department. Now, if you drop down to 2910, the miscellaneous other operating services, you'll see there's a
Whoa,
$10,000 added to that. That's, Dawn was looking to make a budget line just to handle the Opticon replacements and repairs.
oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that he was, you know, he'll work on, but, you know, replacing the boards are about he put down $1,600.
Actually, we were pricing for replacing the whole system, and it was just out of reach right now, so he's got to have that to fix them.
Right, and even the emitter, the lights themselves, they're $300 to $400 to replace.
No, that's good. Those are important.
You had one question on budget line 2505, traffic signal, internet. There was $2,700 put in there last year for the engineering department himself to watch the traffic lights that they had already, they put in for the replacement for the new adaptive system. Now, they're going to be doing this section here. He was just wondering if that's enough money to handle the new section.
Yeah,
that they're gonna
Dom's
be doing.
report to me was $5,400, Mike, and I agree with Mike. Instead of the $2,700 in that, I think we should put $5,400, because that's the internet service, because, as Mike said, we'll call them the smart traffic signals, that's going to be extended all the way up to Rhode I believe, if I'm not mistaken, up the way-
Correct.
up the
From
Rhode Eye.
22 and 48 to Rhode Island Road.
Yeah, and so that has internet service, which we're responsible for, and 2,700 isn't going to make it. So I believe that should be increased, and I'm going to increase that to 50.
Is that for the
54.
corridor that we did that ran from Murraysville all the way through Monroeville? Is that what we're
To
talking about?
Cochrane, to
Okay,
Last
to up-
year, it went from the Cochrane Pontiac through Murraysville, out to Salem Township.
Okay, so then now it's for now
That's
we're going to
correct.
go all the way
This side.
into Wilkins.
To Rhode Island Road.
So this would then double the cost.
So in other words,
So that
this
everyone
cost will go up,
understands.
Tim? You know, this ain't a flat fee for the internet to see them all,
Yeah,
or?
would it really double, Tim?
That was the
That's
question.
what, yeah, Dom says that he feels comfortable. Let's see here, I'll just paraphrase here. Don't know the amount yet, but I would assume the cost would be the same as the previous system that controls 7 of Monroeville signals, since this project will control 8 of our signals, so I would double the amount to 5,400.
To add one more? That doesn't make sense.
well, it's going to control 8 signals. What we have from export to Cochrane are 7 signals, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Yeah. So this is going to
Remember,
control 8.
Wilkins got to pay for 2.
Yeah,
Oh, that's true.
yeah, so maybe just check on that.
Wilkins has to pay for 2, and whose road is that Wilkins?
That's,
That's Churchill.
That's
That's
Churchill.
Churchill.
So that's not ours either.
That's, yeah, that is true.
I don't think it's gonna be 54, but you can check on it.
I don't, maybe Dom is talking about what is actually in Monroeville before the bridge. He may be talking about that, but he
Yeah,
doesn't,
you
he
better
doesn't
find-
clarify. I'll talk to Dom.
Yeah, that was a question that we didn't know whether it was going to go up or if there was some, that was a flat fee for
Right,
Monroeville.
Oh, we just better make sure we put enough in there, that's all.
right. You wanna make sure you do have enough, but, okay.
Any other questions in traffic signals and lines? Basically, the rest of the budget stayed the same.
I have, speaking of Dom, some of the 2609 on traffic signal and repair. Sorry about that, guys. I just wanted to mention, we have $10,000 in there.
He's going to use a lot of that money to replace the battery backups, UPS system.
Yeah, that's, I'm sorry, Mike, that's 3230, electrical supplies on the backups, but he's talking about on 2609, which is traffic signal and repair maintenance. We have $10,000 in, but he'd like to double that, to tell you the truth, for repair of the Opticom preamp system.
Well, that's what, we added the 10,000.
Oh, down below, okay.
Down, yeah,
All right,
down
all
to
right,
the-
okay, good, okay, forget that, okay, all right, that's,
Yeah,
all right.
originally, he was going to put that
All
in the
right.
same budget line. He figured he'd
He put it
separate
in
it.
there. Okay, all right, okay, then 3230, you were talking about the backups, Mike.
Well, he actually uses that traffic signal repair and maintenance, the 2609, to replace the battery backups.
3,000, okay. 26, okay, all right, well, then we'll leave that the same. The only thing we'll increase then is the 2505.
And we added a budget line, Tim, for the
Yeah, okay, all
Opticom.
right, good, all right.
Any other questions? Next page, 69, that's our refuge collection. Like I said, 9 full-time employees, 4 part-time.
They're great.
Yeah, don't
Well,
change
thank you.
anything here.
And basically, they don't even have, they have a little bit in hardware, which some of their rain gear comes out of that, but as far as any budget lines.
Why'd the pension go way down?
Like I said, as far as anything above,
It went down.
yeah, I don't know
Well,
what, any of the,
obviously
when
they
it comes
got
to
moved to another
pensions and
department.
insurance,
Everybody else
we
went
don't.
way up,
That,
and
no, I noticed the trend. We had preliminary figures, I think, and then we got, as it went further on, we received, final figures from the actuary. I think that, I mean, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure I remember there was something weird about that.
Well, like, Andy was in Public Works, and now he's full-time over at the senior center, Mike. Maybe.
Right.
You see what I'm saying about when you take someone from like a Public Works and you put them now
Absolutely.
over the senior center, you don't know where anybody's, like, where's his retirement money going?
Well, if he worked predominantly in Public Works, it should be in Public Works.
Right, but that's what's
Yeah.
gonna get confusing over the percentages of how long were you here and there, and,
Well, yeah.
but I think that might be part of why that went down, because now Andy is now over there,
That
and we
could
didn't
be on
replace
his.
Andy.
It could be on his.
Yeah,
but-
we didn't replace him over there,
Yeah.
right? We didn't replace him.
Where?
Andy, when you
Yeah.
sent him to the senior center,
Oh,
did you
yeah.
replace him?
Yeah, he-
Yeah, we
Okay.
play, yeah, we
Okay.
had to, we can't get any
I was gonna s-
smaller.
Well, no,
Yeah, typically, what happens, your most senior guy on the refuge department will come over,
okay,
and then most likely end up on a recycling truck until there's other movement.
okay.
I got nothing else on that one.
No, I don't want to change anything with that. Our services, people are very happy.
Page 71 is vehicle equipment maintenance. Budget line started 2608 as far as expenditures. We did decrease 5313, the garage equipment and tools. We'd added some money to that last year just to update some of the equipment we needed.
Why'd the gas and lubricants go down by like $6,000?
Like I said, the allocations, I'm not sure how they work, but there's 5 employees. One employee's been off on short term for a while, but I
Went
mean,
from 7,100 to 1,900.
I don't, like I said, as far as anything, the gasoline, they're based on the
Yeah, it's calculated.
pump reports, and it's allocated through finance. The numbers, I don't know how they come up with them.
Mike,
But like I said, we did decrease the one budget line by $4,000.
We get a zero here on employee pension insurance for actual to date.
Where's there a zero?
2409. Josie, that's another.
That was as of 9:30.
Yeah.
Probably if you look
Yeah, that's-
in September and October, you'll have an amount in there.
It'll finally full.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, Shelley did pull that up. There's $13,637
Is there?
left available in that budget.
Okay.
for 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's
that'll
as of today.
Right, but that'll be pulled out
But that's gonna, yeah,
for
go.
OPEB.
Yeah.
Well, that's the pension insurance, the one I was talking about.
Yeah.
OPEB, I didn't. Yeah, there's $13,801.
And then 2110 at the top,
Yes.
oil, what is that? Oil
That's, well, that, part of that's drug testing. The oil reclamation is, that's a slasher. That's for getting rid of old oils, antifreeze and stuff.
why are they in the same budget?
I
Or why
have
are they
no
Why
idea.
the same line?
Yeah.
I didn't even notice
Or is that
that.
just a little typo, maybe?
Well, it's definitely in the same budget because you're looking at 5 employees.
It can be in the
At,
same budget, but it shouldn't be in the same
It's
line item.
$75 apiece as far as what, what's usually budgeted for an employee for the
Yeah.
drug testing. Well, we could look to move that.
No, I just didn't know
We're
whether
out of
why the
my
oil
budget
reclamation
line.
was in there with it. On the same line.
I'll tell you the truth, I never really noticed that.
You just had to put a new line item.
Yeah, that's all.
Right.
Yeah,
Just separate
They're just
them.
jumbled there.
Yeah, because most of the other departments have their own line for drug testing.
Right, yeah.
Any other questions on vehicle equipment?
No, sir.
Okay, recycling. 2 employees do our recycling. I did not bring my revenue account. I believe we're just over $10,000 right now as far as our recycling.
Have you seen that gone up since we've been doing
Yeah,
newspaper?
it did go up. We haven't received a check for about 2 months now, but they've been doing it quarterly. Sometimes they're on monthly, but sometimes they'll, and we're averaging probably about 85 ton a month.
Can
As
I
far
ask a
as-
question? I hate to upset the apple cart, but to do the cardboard recycling, the round cans are very difficult. So instead of when we have to repurchase again, can we look into, prior to that, maybe some kind of square?
We did. That's a big cost.
How about box cutters?
As far as buying
Yeah, Tim said that
10,000.
the last time we bought Kansas.
I have one.
Because those round ones, trying to get the cardboard broke up.
Well, the cardboard,
Roll
I mean,
them in the-
anything bigger than a can, actually, you want to break down and fold, and you
Yeah.
put beside the can.
Yeah, but they don't hold that much. Once you
No, I mean,
If you're a big
you
Amazon
know,
shopper
in the
like I
can,
am, I
you're
got a
looking
lot of
at cereal
cardboard.
boxes, cracker boxes, egg
Yeah.
cartons, or.
But you
Yeah,
just have to
things
have the
like that are
cardboard.
easy.
But have the cardboard beside the can or outside the can.
You
Yeah, even
can't-
with the big square cans, you're not gonna get a refrigerator or a stove box in
Okay.
it. You know what I mean? You're
But
gonna-
during the summertime, if it's not wet, they can put their cardboard next to the recycling can,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
I
they
mean, I
can put
know.
it there now, even if
Yes.
it is wet, I mean,
Okay, because
Yeah.
I think people are under the understanding, if it's not in that can with a lid on it.
some of them do, and they call about it, and we just tell them to time bundle it. you know,
Okay,
Put it next to the can.
just
Yeah.
put it next to the can, but I want people to understand that because that, standing out there trying to get it all in that can, it's just a
Put your
difficult
bigger
process.
box, take
No,
your
you
big
ain't getting
box,
it in
and
a
put your
can.
little boxes in it, and set it next to the can.
Right. Or if you have two cans, flatten them and then put them between the two cans.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have 7 rear-load dumpsters throughout the municipality, as you know, for the residents to drop off, whether they're apartment dwellers or they just have extra recycling they can take to.
And then, Mike, then all the recycling is being sorted or taken to the local?
It's all,
We're all,
ours is all commingled, it's all mixed together.
Correct, but we're
It
no
goes
longer-
to the landfill here in Monroeville.
right, we're no longer
Waste
going to Neville Island
Man-
anymore. It's all
No,
here.
they end up taking it to Neville Island to get it
Which
separated.
saves us a lot on wear and
Yeah.
tear and
Right.
fuel.
I mean, the price might, we might not get as much for it per ton, but it's a lot cheaper on our truck, you know.
Oh,
And less,
absolutely.
you know,
That-
staffing,
that
it's more
element.
efficient with staffing and, very good.
Page 75 is our animal control, 1 employee. Basically, everything stayed the same there. If you drop down to 2610, that's where the budget line starts, as far as monies we have to spend. Which he don't really have a whole lot, but he gets a lot through the foundation and donations. Any questions on animal control?
Yes, sir.
Building maintenance, we have 4 employees. They'll take as far as the salaries go. One of them is a full-time employee as far as the maintenance man here at the municipal center. 2 of them are our maintenance guys as far as maintaining all the buildings, and Kenny maintains all of our islands in the public works garage, amongst other things. Again, no increases in this budget. If you look from 2601 down, everything stayed the same. I mean, there was some talk about, you know, Tara brought up about some of the maintenance on the building, the air conditioning units, roofs and all.
yeah.
You know, John and Joey's been doing a good job as far as keeping our units
They've been doing a
running
great
here.
job, but it's just like,
And-
they keep having to Band-Aid everything.
Well-
It's getting, it's,
I mean, down the road, we're gonna.
yeah, but they
Yeah.
are doing, kudos, they're doing a great job.
So speaking of that, Mike, the Alumico that was mentioned on the roofs.
Alumicoats, yeah.
Is that like a liquid or a tar?
Yeah,
that
it's a
gets-
liquid. Comes in 5-gallon cans, and it's something you spread out. It's basically.
Almost like you put on a
It almost
driveway.
looks aluminum.
Okay.
It's silver.
Oh,
And it's a coating that seals any small cracks. It just preserves the roof. And then it's a reflector as far as the heat goes.
Okay.
so the roofs don't have a membrane per se?
Oh,
or
yeah,
do
they do.
They do, and
They
that,
do.
does that?
This Lumicoat is just preventive maintenance,
Okay, okay,
to make it last longer.
okay.
Is there any outside companies that would do that? Is that something worth looking into outsourcing? As far as a roofing company, would they be able to, I don't know.
Well, we could definitely get prices on it, but it's still gonna be a lot cheaper if we buy the product and do it in-house.
Okay.
Any questions on building maintenance? Last but not least, we got the community park. Currently has 3 employees. And there's no increases in their budget this year either. 2610 down, you'll see that the budget lines are all the same.
Changes.
he does have a little bit of money left in tree maintenance there. We need to replace some trees near the amphitheater area. We're looking to get a couple trees, whatever we can get, small, immature trees to get planted over that way.
Nice.
I was gonna jump up here when Paul and Joanne was here. They're getting all the revenue, and we're spending all the money on maintenance for the community park.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You should.
Yeah, true.
Okay, any questions?
No, you guys do a great job there.
Well, thanks.
Okay, Mike, good.
Nice job, Mike.
Good job,
Thank
kid.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks to all your guys.
Will do.
We're going to keep working and find you some employees sooner or later.
Maybe we'll get this community park,
volunteers.
this community park item sent over to the rec department budget, maybe.
Please state your name.
Mr.
And
Hugus,
if you're a
with
resident
our
of
building
Monroeville.
engineering and community development budget.
Oh, a handout.
Oh, a
Thank you.
handout.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can Sharon have one?
Thank you, sir.
Lisa. I can't believe that.
Thank you, sir. Gracias, mi amigo. Awful quick.
What is today, Thursday?
Kidding.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, I give you your annual cheat sheet. We'll go over the first 2 pages here in depth. The supporting pages, pages 3 is the makeup of the department flow chart. The last 3 pages is the permit activity, just so you can take a quick snapshot of what occurs with the permitting side of things. So we will start with, excuse me, the accomplishments, page 3 and 5 of your budget book. I should say pages 3 through 5. You can obviously read through those. I just wanted to make a couple remarks on a few of these things.
Nothing else will be open.
So far, we've reviewed 30 land development applications, which all those you see, which are site plans, conditional uses, subdivisions, rezonings, things of that nature. We're up to number 30. Just to give an example, in 2016, there was 10. So we are triple the amount that we were last year.
It's a positive thing.
That's a positive thing,
Very
absolutely.
Good
You know,
deal.
so there's a lot of movement within the land development world. The department issued about 2,600 property maintenance violation letters this year. I know sometimes it's become a negative thing to you guys, but it was something that
It is what it is.
that council wanted us to take a more aggressive approach to.
Well, it has to happen to keep, to keep the community.
Absolutely,
It's important.
it is
It's
absolutely
very
important. We just talked about this, the next phase of the traffic adaptive system that we're doing with PennDOT. We work with the department pretty closely here. Part of that adaptive system is upgrading the traffic signals from 22 and 48 through Pace Drive. So we'll be getting a lot of new equipment as part of that program that's going to save us a lot of money in the long run. What Mike was just talking about, increasing the dollar amount, so Dominic's able to look at those remotely and see what is going on. But the municipality will probably we'll make out on this deal because we get a lot of improvements to the traffic signals.
Great.
Did want to mention, we always talk about grants. Jamie Story from my office does a very good job at grant writing and secured about $240,000 worth of grants this year for the municipality. Some we've already used. We redid the storm sewer on Dahlia Drive. It was a $230,000 project. We got a $200,000 grant for that. We also got a grant, $200,000 grant to replace the traffic signal at Northern Pike at West Patty Lane. We have not yet done the project, but we have secured the money. The contract is returned to PennDOT. We're just waiting a go-ahead for that. And again, we just talked about a little bit ago, we got a $40,000 grant to replace the LEDs in the traffic signals because the first generation LEDs are now starting to burn out. So we're replacing those throughout the 40. We have 42 traffic signals in the municipality, but we also have to look at it not only for the signals itself, but the pedestrian crosswalks. We think every traffic signal has a lot of pedestrian crosswalks. You got to replace those also. Obviously, we did the road resurfacing program this year, combination of crack sealing, fog sealing, and traditional milling and paving. We've also already this year applied for another $200,000 grant for next year. And again, it's traffic signal related to replace some of the battery backup systems, replace some of the pedestrian crosswalks, and the traffic signal radar system. So that's another grant we've already applied for, is a $200,000 grant. And of course, we had a lot of discussion about this at the beginning of the year, but the MS4 report that we had to submit to the DEP with the new application, that was also done this year. Again, if you look in your packet here, I won't go through every line item, but the municipality is on a pace of issuing about 2,000 permits this year. Nice. Out of those 2,000 permits, about 1,000 of those are apartment occupancy permits that are required to obtain upon people moving in and out. 50 of those are single-family homes that are being rented. 400 are single-family homes that are for real estate transactions. 200 building permits and 300 zoning permits. So we're on pace for about 2,000 permits this year, which is a pretty good pace. Yeah. All right, goals are on page 19 and 20, if you have any questions about those. And if not, we will go to...
We talked about applying for grants. Did we apply for the LED lighting again?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes. Revenue page 27. There was a change there. Under building permits, which is the 2,300 108 building permits. That's a difficult